Okay, so now I am live. So, hey, blind guy, his wife, their life. I dropped it once inside of the StreamYard chat channel and once onto my main channel, and still nothing. So, y'all don't see it, do you? What is going on? Welcome back, y'all. Thank you so much. It looks like it's still not going to do it. I can see where I have dropped it twice. Yes, babe. Okay. All right. I love you. Have a good one. Be safe. No, for some reason I can't get my chat thingy to act right. Sorry, you guys. That's my son. Um, the fella is what I'll call the fella that I raised is what we'll call him. I try not to put his name out there in the world. Trash can, what did you just say that Lizzo was sexy as hell? I will allow you. It did post. Oh my God, there's people down there. I'm so sorry. I was so busy talking to that little cute face that I made. All right, give me a second. Hey, you guys. Thank
Hey,
you so much.
it worked. It worked.
Hey. I don't know why it was acting crazy for a minute there. That's strange, y'all. I ain't never had that problem before. But then again, this is my third stream, so when would I? Okay. So
Struggle streaming for real.
yes, and that's the beautiful part, right? We're family now, for sure. Oh,
So
they got
I
somebody
have,
listening back there.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, I just came in to see if it would work because I just have
Yes.
so many things happening right now, and so I can't really be here for real, with all the
That's
noise
so
and activity. But it looks like it works. I don't know what happened with that, but I would definitely say address the copyright strike, even if you don't want to be monetized. Address all copyright strikes because that's how you keep your channel up.
okay.
So
Yeah,
definitely do that. Go ahead.
they sent me the little thing in the email, but it doesn't show up as like a copyright issue, probably because I'm not monetized. But yeah, I will go back and just say, hey, listen, no, I'll and because I did the same thing in that video that I did in these, but I with the lyrics. So I should be able to do it. Like we talked about how the music makes you feel and all of those things. I would think that that qualifies as fair use, but we'll see.
Right. Yeah. Because I think if you're just playing what somebody is saying, it's still, I don't know, like the celebrities, they have a lot of lawyer stuff. So some of their things you can play, some of their things you can't. Even if they're not singing, you can't play them talking. You know, like Kevin Samuels, he's like that. He's like, nope, you play my stuff. I already have lawyers on it, and yours will get taken down. So yeah, I don't know. And then of course, Corey, she has so many she's up there, so she might
Yeah.
have people protecting her stuff. All I'm saying is that, yeah, just I would just address it, and I'm going to mute and probably drop off because, yeah.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you for being my first to buy me a Sage bundle. I feel so accomplished. And thank you guys for shouting me out all the time. I really do appreciate it. Every little bit helps, and I'm here for everybody. So y'all
Yeah,
have
we
a
are
good
too.
day.
Yep, you know what? We are too. You're welcome, and keep up the good work.
Yes, ma'am. You know I'll see
All
you in
right,
these streets in a little bit.
exactly. All right, I'm gonna
Thank you.
mute.
All right, so Patrice, tell me what you got. Now you're in the industry, so I would like to know from your perspective, the difference between the divas then and the divas now.
Yeah, well, like I said, we were cut from a different cloth back in the day because we were raised, with those morals, values, and scruples. And we were raised to cover up, even when we did get a little uh, sexy or provocative, it was with class. It was strategically placed in maybe one focus or spot, whether it was a back out, whether your back was out, or you showed a midriff, in a dress or a gown or outfit, or even maybe a little cleavage. It was a one spot concentration of sexiness, but it was
Right.
done with style and class and grace. And as the years passed and the generations, you know, passed, it seemed like each decade, that the new style would come out, and the new style started getting sexier and less clothes and less clothes. And by the time now, you got the millennials and Gen Ys, so by the time that generation come out, the way you dress, it was totally different in the industry because they were selling more of sex than they were the music. And I think that's where it is now, because with a lot of these rappers, female rappers, and some of the female R&B and pop singers, they were told that you have to show a lot of your body in order to sell the records, which is such a misconception, and
But
it's so backwards. But it came from the top. It came from the execs, and these are young ladies that sold out and sold into that, thinking that they had to show a lot of their body in order to sell music. And it's
but
and it's
who's
so wrong, because I think that your Cardis, your Megans, your what's the girl name you were just doing? What's her name?
Lizzo?
Lizzo's, even your Beyonce's, Nicki Minaj, K Michelle, and then the body image, that the stress and pressure of the body image that goes along with selling the sex. Because once they get their bodies done, they want to show it. So that's why they're wearing, their boobs all out, or their asses all showing and big. Excuse my French. I don't want to get you striked again. The derrieres, or if you will, the manufactured bodies that is, telling them that that's the only way that they're acceptable and pretty, and this is what they're pushing out into the world, onto the little girls and teenage girls that's looking up to them, that's saying, oh, so this is what the definition of pretty and sexy is I got to dress like this, in order to get attention onto myself, or to be beautiful. And this is the image that
Okay.
beauty is saying.
So here's the thing now. The manosphere would tell you that it's the fault of Cardi B, Lizzo, Beyonce, and the like. But what about Usher and T-Pain singing to strippers? What does that put
Exactly.
out there?
Exactly, because when they go in the stripper clubs, those women are dressed like some of the rappers are. So and then the men are buying into it and making it rain and all of that in the strip club. So this is the imagery that the music execs from way on high, the hierarchies, have sold to our Black folk that's in the industry. When, like you said, when the Patties and the Gladyses and the Dionne Warwicks and all of those ladies had style and grace and class. And even if they showed a little bit, like I said, it was very tastefully done. It wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't the way it is now. And then, of course, plastic surgery and the body image of, getting the derriere jobs and the boob jobs, and and all of that wasn't as prominent as it is now. That imagery came on, Little Kim set the tones for the Cardi B's and the Nicki Minaj's and Megan Thee Stallions.
So
Little Kim
be
was a beautiful, beautiful young lady before she got all that work done. But this is another thing. The men in their lives is telling them that this is what it's looked like. Because I remember watching an interview that Little Kim done, and she said every boyfriend she had told her that her butt was too flat, that her lips and her nose was too large, her lips was too small. And then when you have your the men in your life telling you that, oh, you too dark, and then
But
she went into the
Patrice,
whole plastic
Patrice,
surgery thing, and then she became addicted to it.
yes,
So it's
and that's
it's
the
it's
thing,
it's two
though.
parts.
I listen. I need you to be clear about what this second part is that you want us to on her end, right? Because we've all been through the name calling and the mistreatments. Honey, I've been a black girl with no ass my whole life, and I'm 45. People, it's so much that people would give me the little pretend bottle of pills that say no acetol on there. It's a joke. It is what it is. Why? Where? I guess it's two questions. One, you're in the industry, so tell me, pinpoint in the industry where that change came from, right? Where we went from having role models like Luther and Patty to having role models like Kim and Biggie. But when I say that, I mean what time in our culture specifically. And then the other thing is, when is the onus or responsibility on the girl? Okay, so what? People have been beating you up, putting you down, making you feel bad because you are fat, because you're dark skinned, whatever. Okay, the one thing you can change is fat. Your dark skinnedness you cannot change. If you ain't got no ass, you can do all the squats you want to. It just might not come. When do we say that is not okay for you to go out here and do these things to yourself or your body or with your body?
For me, I can remember as far back as in the mid to late 70s, and I'm gonna give you a prime example of that. When someone in the industry or the media tells you you're fat, you're getting too big, you need to lose weight. That is what was told to Karen Carpenter. And this was in the 70s, mid to late 70s. And because of the imagery of what being skinny was even back then, that damaged her mentally, and she became a bulimic. And she started throwing up. She would eat and she would throw up to lose the weight, and then what is that disease called? Was it bulimia?
Bulimia and
Where you
anorexia.
Anorexia, yeah, and she became a bulimic and anorexic, and started throwing up every time she eat, and she made herself sick, and she look at how skinny she got. She lost all that weight, and then she said every time she looked in the mirror, when she barely weighed 100 pounds, she saw fat. That's all she saw. So it became mental for her. And it was just from that one comment that someone in the media said to her. And same thing with Lil' Kim. When you hear the men in your life, your boyfriends telling you, you too dark, because she said she never could understand, as much as she loved Biggie, she couldn't understand why he was so in love with Faith. And he told her, I just like, light-skinned girls. I like red bones. I like high yellow girls. That was a mental for her. So she started bleaching her skin. Then they told her, your ass is too flat. Your boobs are too flat. Your nose is too wide. Your lips are too thin. All of that was mental for her. So now she's looking in the mirror thinking she's ugly, and she starts to get all of this plastic surgery, and then she becomes addicted to it. It's a mentality.
Okay, so then,
So
but
between the industry, the media, and men that try to tell women what the standard of beauty should be for them, the women allow that. They sell into that and allow it to happen, and that is what has destroyed to me, the women in the industry now, is because they tell them sex sell. The less you put on your body, the more your music is going to sell. Now, what sense does that make?
none at all. But well, it does. But let me ask you this question. Do you know, like back in the day, Aretha and all of those, they had family members or a village around them that helped out with that? That were there when they went to do their contracts and all those kind of things? Because it sounds like she didn't have a village. And that's part of the problem, because when people would come to me and tell me that I was fat and that I was not going to be this or that and the other, my mother was like, yeah, baby, you do this and this, get your head on right, get your focus going. You're going to be just fine. I had gastric bypass surgery because I knew that my doctor told me I could die before my children would graduate from high school. You're not going to die from not having an ass. And that's my question. So did she not have a village? Did the people back in the day have one? Okay.
No, back in the day we had them because the style and the grace and the poise that your Patties and your Gladyses, and that they had, the Supremes. When you look at that girl group, and then look at Destiny Child girl group. Look at the difference in the way they dressed. You know what I mean? So by the time
they had a village. Now, when you talk about Destiny's Child, they had a village. They had Tina and Matthew.
But again,
but they also taught them different, though.
It's the labels. That's what I'm telling you. It's the labels that you wear less. I'm telling you, it's the music executives that are pushing the poison. The same way they did when Tupac first came out, he was doing conscious rap. Yeah. Brenda's Got a Baby, talking about what's going on in our neighborhoods, what's going on, the pressures he have as a young Black man. And when he was pushing that, he got maybe 1 or 2 albums out of conscious rap. And then the music execs start saying, no, that's not going to sell. The industry is changing. You got to do gangster rap. You got to talk about the drugs. You got to talk about, degrading women. You got to talk about, calling them B's and H's. You got to talk about killing. So it changed. And this came from up top, from the music executives. They changed the image of the music to push out there. And they told our Black women that they have to damn near be naked in order to sell music. Now, did Whitney have to ever do that to sell music? No. Did Gladys have to ever do that to sell music? No. Did Patty? No. So look at the difference in the time from back then to now.
So when did
if you don't have that village, you're going to buy into it and sell your soul because you want to be famous.
Would you say that it's a result of the civil rights movement then, seeing how powerful music was at the time? They realized in order to be able to keep Black folks from rising up again and getting any further, they had to put these images up?
Absolutely. It's just like that scene from one of my favorite movies, The Usual Suspect. The greatest trick the devil ever pulled is to try to make people think that he didn't exist.
Yes, ma'am.
You understand?
Yeah.
So that is what happened in the music industry. And that is what happened with the imagery of the way they dress and what their body image is. But if you talk to more mature seasoned mature men that came from our era, they want to see these young girls and our women natural, in our natural beauty, with our natural bodies. They don't fall into it. It's just that small generation that is pushing it. The same thing. So the same thing that the Ushers and the Chris Browns and the Drake see when they go to the club, to the strip clubs. Mm-hmm. That's what they see when they look at Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion and Nicki Minaj. They see the same thing because they dress alike. The strippers dress like them and they dress like the strippers.
So why would they treat them any different, right?
Exactly.
And as a result, since our daughters are dressing that way, why would they treat them any different? And
this is what
so that's how they behave.
Exactly. There you go. On the money. But please know, it came from the music industry first, the executives. It came from on high. It came from doing an interview and a reporter telling you, wow, you sure gained weight. You getting kind of fat there.
I'm willing to accept that. But so then here's my question. When it comes to someone like Lizzo and Sweet Lulu Bean, please chime in on this. She was that size before she got into the industry. And I don't know whether or not she was dressing that way, but didn't she know that, couldn't she feel immediately? Like I said, we talked about it earlier. We as women know that we don't feel comfortable or sexy in a certain type of way. My problem is that even if you sold your soul in order to get to that space, you don't get to come up here and then whine and complain to our children about you not having the best life by the choices you made. Am I wrong?
That's why I said it's the hypocrisy of that, because you're twerking all on your IG page 1 minute, and talking about how you love your body and big girls rock and this and that, and when you deep down inside, when you know that's not true, and that's not your true feeling, and then when social media come after you, calling you fat girl this, big girl that, and you this and you that, then now you want to cry and expect us to bust out the violins because you feel in some type of way, when you know how social media is and you know how mean it is. And then in your solitude, you want to get mad and lash out and call them names all the time while you're talking and trying to be positive. Like, which one is it? I'm confused.
Yeah.
So it's the hypocrisy of it. You on your page twerking, and then 1 minute and talking about how you love your body, and then the next, when the fat shaming coming, you're crying and talking about F you and screw you. So make up your mind. Which one is it? And I think that even, Monique said it deep down inside when she came out as a comedian. She was like, yes, big girls rock. I hate skinny girls. Them bitches. Remember she used to do that?
Yes, she did.
And then all of a sudden she said, look, my doctor sat me down and said, if I don't lose weight, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I got to change this. I really don't like myself anyway. So deep down inside, they cannot really say that they like themselves being 300 plus weight. Like, let's be real about that.
Right. And so that was something that we talked about earlier in the earlier stream. Sweet Lulu Bean, you said that you thought that the depression idea was a misnomer or wasn't nearly as prevalent. So after hearing the things that we've discussed so far, and Patrice from inside the industry, do you see it differently?
Maybe also it's where I come from. My family is got a lot of big girls. And they're married and they're living their best life. But like I said, I'm from Africa, and South Africa is very westernized. If you landed in South Africa, I don't think you'd have a culture shock, other than the language.
Okay.
Other than the language, it's becoming very westernized. But in terms of the big girls, I don't feel that they had as much pressure as what you guys are feeling over here. If it is, maybe it was more, like you said, internalized. But like I said, my family is full of big girls. They're good. I've got a lot of friends whose families are full of big girls. They're good. And what tends to happen is West African men tend to like the big girls. And also a lot of times, I suppose, women tend to gain weight within their marriages,
Yeah.
and I don't see, we don't have the shows that you have here where you hear men telling women to shape up. Men seem to just accept that's life. You're gonna have a few babies and you're going to get chunky along the way.
Well, and one of the other things too, Sweet Lulu Bean, and we has Africa ever been an image driven country like that though? I mean, we're both colonized for the most part, but I feel like I know that in South Africa there was apartheid, and so that image was pushed out. But were we villainized and over sexualized in the same way over there?
Think of Sarah Baartman. Have you ever heard of her? She was a well, I think she was I think she was Khoisan, or she was a Bushman. And what they did was, because she had a big derriere, and what they did was they took her over there, and she ended up dying of all these sexually transmitted diseases because they objectified her. In terms of South Africa, that's the only sort of historical figure that stands out. But in terms of the sexualization and the objectification of women, that's something that's like I said, that's very recent with the advent of Instagram. Now
Okay.
you have plastic surgery was never a thing before. Twerking was never a thing before, and now we have one celebrity. Her name is Faith Getty, and she basically became popular for twerking, and she went and had plastic surgery. And this it's a new phenomenon for
You
us.
know, so one of the things that I can say, and then anybody in the chat or Patrice, you may be able to speak to this, is that the over sexualization of our women started inside of slavery. It started as a part. It was a part of chattel slavery. As you know, right up there was the buck breaking, and I believe that maybe that's the root of it. Why it's so much more prevalent in the way that it takes its form here in America, and how it's been here for so long in our people. But one of the things was quite literally, I'm going to one, I'm going to terrorize your woman in front of you so that you will feel bad. And then if you try to buck up against me, I'm going to put you down so that your woman will never not give me the sex that I want, and you will never try to fight me again. It didn't happen that way in Africa, and I think that that
Remember,
may be
Africa is big. So,
yes.
well, I'm talking about South Africa, but you do
Us-
have places like Mozambique where, before you could take on a wife, the colonizer would sleep with her first, and that's why you
mhm.
have a big population, of what you guys call mulattoes. We call them coloreds.
You
Um,
know, what's funny is that we don't call them mulattoes. The
so
average black person calls them black people.
yeah, so it is. I mean, you do have that. I mean, you have that French king that chopped off. I mean, how many hundreds of thousands of people's hands. So Africa has seen its fair share. But
Indeed.
in terms of if we're talking about sexualization, I'm really going to say that women have done it to themselves, and it's social media. It's the advent of Instagram. But
Who
for
are they trying to are they trying to emulate the music artists, or are there particular people
they're
in
emulating
your
American,
culture?
they're
Okay.
emulating American women.
Okay.
And this side, I mean, I was telling you about, South Africans. You walk down the corner, everybody has boobs and an ass and thighs. So
Mhm.
it's easier. If you go and you type in South African women, you'll see people like Nicki Minaj, and it's natural. So
Mhm.
I think South African women are thinking it's easier. But the difference here is I was shocked when I first came to Atlanta. It was at night, and I'm seeing, half naked girls walking at night, and they're not being terrorized. And I was like, wow,
Mhm.
you guys are progressive, if this is what progress looks like. In South Africa, that's not going to happen. You're not going to walk down the road and not be harassed for dressing like that. You'll have to be in specific areas. I'd say white, areas, more metropolitan areas. Otherwise, you are not going to walk down with your cheeks hanging out in your boobs, and you're going to be left alone. You are going to have a very hard time, you know.
Lulu, do you have children?
No.
Okay. I was just curious as to your perspective, or how you would play that parenting role. Have you figured it out? If it's something that you're planning on doing, have you figured out how you're going to walk that line between your culture and your husband's?
Um, I'm watching, I think you heard me before on another show where, I've watched my husband's family and how they deal with their children. And I don't understand it. I really don't get it, Um, no man, we had the talk. And I told him, like, listen, you're cute and everything, but these kids are gonna be African first.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good
And
for
I
you.
don't know if we're still talking about it, but I don't know if I want to raise my children in America. To tell you the truth, I don't think I want to raise them in America.
Patrice, what do you think about that?
Well, Lulu Bean, I definitely understand where you're coming from because of the difference in the culture. But I have noticed that a lot of young ladies from Africa is on have Instagram pages, and like that young lady that's kind of leading away from how she's seeing what to her body imagery is. What's her name? Face something, and that got all the work done and
Yeah.
twerking and all of that. It's I've seen that it's starting to come over there in Africa. But I agree with you. I being from, if I was from Africa myself and looking at the craziness that's going on in America with what is portraying and telling our young Black women and men who they should be, I don't like what I see. I don't like what I see either. And I'm born and raised here all my life. And again, like I said, it's a different era. We're cut from a different cloth. We weren't raised that way. We had more morals and values and scruples about us. And I see less of that in a lot of your millennials and a lot of your Ys and your Zs, the younger generation that's out now. And don't get me wrong, it's not all of them. It's not all of them, because there are some beautiful, Black young men and women that are in their natural habitats, body wise and image wise, and they got their heads on straight. They're in college or they graduated from college, they work in jobs, they got morals and values. I'm not saying it's all of them, but when the industry pushes this so much, and this is why I say, and being in the industry for such a long time, and the things that I saw and witnessed, I was so glad to come home to my normal life and my normal husband and my normal bed and my normal house and my normal car. I said that on another podcast, because what I witnessed being in the industry, I'm telling you, you have to have a strong mind. And if you don't have that moral compass line that you don't cross, you will sell out, depending on how famous you want to be. Listen, the more famous that they tell you they can make you is really tough. And if you had a strong upbringing and you had a moral compass, you either did or didn't cross that line. And for me, I chose not to, and it hindered my career a lot. And I tell you, tremendously.
Yeah.
You know, so I agree with Lulu. Because I don't like what I see, a lot of what goes on in America. So I agree with that statement.
You know what, JP, the first thing I noticed when I came to the States was you don't see children in the streets. It took a long time for me to see children. I've never seen children in the neighborhoods playing ball or just being in their yard. And I'm like, where do you people keep your kids?
In the house, in the basement.
And then my husband's eldest brother married a Zimbabwean colored lady. And they came this side. And I see a stark difference. In Zimbabwe, he was in the chess club. He was playing cricket. He was a very active child. Whereas here, and also the daughter is a toddler. She's about 2. She was with the grandmother mostly. The grandmother was taking care. They stayed in the same. So remember I explained to you the concept of you have the main house and then you'll have the secondary house.
Mhm.
So they stayed on the same land. So she wasn't raising her children alone. The children were being raised more by her parents, even though she was around. And then here, they've had to get what is this thing called? What do you guys call your nursery schools? Preschools?
Daycares.
Childcare, which is expensive. And they've had to buy him video games because he can't go out. There's nowhere to go out to.
Yeah.
So I actually think, that he had a better quality of life in Africa as compared to America. He's no longer in a chess club. He's no longer playing cricket.
Mm.
So
And-
his development it's not the same. And I remember there was a family get together, JP, just last point, sorry to interrupt you. There was a family
You're
get
fine.
together And what would usually happen is the grown-ups get served first, then the children. So we're at this family gathering, and then you see uh, the elder brothers, African children standing back, and then you see, all the other American kids going full force, going forward, not even, I was shocked. The kids were shocked, like, is this how it's done? Whereas here it's children first, and I asked, I was like, you guys don't work? You guys don't go out there and sweat. What are you hungry for? Wait for the adults to eat and then you will be served. But here it's the other way around. So it's been a real culture shock. Like
I
like I
think
said.
that in your husband family, is it without divulging too much of their information or getting too personal, are there mostly like single mothers, or the women are the mostly the ones left at home?
So there's 10 of them. You guys have big families this side. There is 10 of them, and there's 5 girls. Out of the
Mhm.
5 girls, the eldest is married. Uh, the youngest one is single, and 3 have kids, and they're not married.
Okay. And so the reason that I asked is because I grew up with my father in the home. My father and mother were married until the day my mother passed away. And so I know you need to make sure that either daddy's food is put away or daddy gets his plate made first. And because without him, none of us would have this doggone roof. What the heck wrong with y'all? I don't know. And I think that that's a direct result of the fact that there are so many homes that no longer have fathers in them, or the head of household is doing all of the jobs instead of just being the head of the household. And so is in turn is being cut short in many regards. But I agree with you. I think that's one of the things that lost. I saw it coming when I was 16 years old, and I wanted to go. And I had to make a decision on what I was going to do with my life. Right. This is something that I also don't understand about the situations today. How we have so many single mothers and out of wedlock children, because we knew in the 90s that this was starting to happen, that the outside of wedlock birth rate was rising, and we did nothing. Right. I knew though that I wanted to be a mother. The only way I could do that was to get married, and I wanted to do it early because at 16 my best friend's parents were almost 70, and they had her trying to become a mortician. She didn't even like the things that the rest of us liked because she was hanging around. No offense, but her parents were so old. They were giving her something different. Not always a bad thing, but in
Were they morticians? The
her
parents.
parents,
Yeah.
no, they
Oh,
just thought that it was a stable career. One of those things where someone's always going to die, so someone's always going to need a mortician.
oh, okay.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but there's also nothing wrong with planning your life. And that's what I'm saying. The young girls today didn't plan their life. I knew I wanted to be a mother. I knew I wanted to go to college at some point, but I was going to have to make a decision on how that was going to go. And so I chose motherhood first, and then my education, and then to go on from there. And a purpose driven life, one with intention and focus, you get to where you want to be. That's what the lead attorney said a few days ago. Isn't that true?
Yeah, men aren't in this society, JP. From what I've picked up, is a lot of these issues that you've just mentioned it's a result of disrespecting men and not understanding um the role and the importance um of a man. If you don't respect a man, then it's easy for you to have a child and not see the value in having a man there. And that's all it's chalked up to, is I really just see uh, Black American men as being highly disrespected.
Oh yeah, they're not valued at all in America. And a lot of it has to do with the toxic masculinity that is being spewed by them and upon them, and even them themselves has contributed to that.
Wait, okay, pause. I'm sorry.
Because
So we're using a term. I want you to go back, and you said who's using the term? Who's providing the toxic masculinity?
Yeah,
Who
it
is?
comes from things like the industry. It comes from society. It comes from, certain groups of women. Okay, take for instance I think that the feminist movement destroyed a lot of that for our men, right? Like chivalry and things are like that is like almost dead especially within the Black community. And I think that that was destroyed a lot by the feminist movement. So now you got your Gen X's and your millennials and your Y's and Z's, and it breaks my heart. But even I've heard this from some of my nieces and cousins that's like, I don't want to get married. I don't need a man. I'm doing it all. So stuff like that, I think was destroyed by the feminist movement. And then they can't understand why they get a Black man that totally disrespect them. You know what I mean? That treats them like crap. And these are the men that they having babies by. And these men are walking away, leaving them single mothers. And these are the same men that are downtrodden them, verbally abusing them, physically abusing them. So it's a vicious cycle of insanity. And then you got these other groups putting the label toxic masculinity on them, but a lot of them are spewing it. They're spewing it when you still see them walking around here with their pants hanging down, and I'm looking at drawers and butt cracks. So that's toxic, not knowing that legacy come from prison. And that was a way of, them wearing their pants like that, meaning they were touched and they belong to somebody in the prison. So, but they don't see that. So it's the mentality. And then if you try to explain those concepts to them, they get mad and want to beat you up and call you names for it. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. You an old lady. You come from the era of this, that, and the other. Yeah, same way they beat up
Well,
Monique. She's trying to
okay,
tell these young ladies stop wearing bonnets and pajamas
okay,
in airports and at the
and
grocery
that's
store.
I'd like to add something as
They
well.
go ahead.
beat you down.
Go ahead, Quita.
Yeah. So I apologize. I'll jump back in because I'm listening, but I'm making this potato salad and I can't. So because with all the chopping and everything, but I couldn't type. But when I heard Sweet Little Bean talking, I wanted to bring in just some things that some people know and some people don't know, so that for the replay we can give some cultural context here, and some insight, because Patrice always bringing it. Sweet Lulu Bean, she's knowledgeable. You know what I mean? Great perspective. You
Yes.
yourself, JP, same thing. You've got your historical information down pat, but what people will hear on the replay is only what you said, and they don't do any research on their own. So
This is true.
so I'm coming with a solution, a couple of solutions for people that are listening on the replay. Get some cultural perspective, because when Sweet Lulu Bean said that you can come to South Africa and you won't have a culture shock other than the language, that's because that part of that reason is because this is where I want people to do the research. I'm sure it will never be said that South Africa was intended to be the basically like America, the next place that they could colonize that had a climate they could enjoy. It wasn't extreme one way or the other. It had a bunch of people there that they could make worker bees and suppress and oppress and all of that, and it's whitewashed. The South Africans, you see the white ones, you see a huge line, and when you cross the line, you see a huge disparity in quality of life. And when I say that, I'm just saying that from the perspective of, you know, the apartheid. It's like here in the States where they gave us certain projects like Cabrini Green and
Hmm.
whatnot. They did the same things there, and it's still there. And so I just want people to get that perspective, because, like she's saying, what they did to Sarah Bartman, or what they called her Venus Hottentot, when you look at that sort of thing, it was not the people indigenous to South Africa that did that. It was the people that came in from the outside and had never seen these dimensions and didn't see it as normal or even possible.
Right.
I have family members with those dimensions currently. I don't even know how they got them, but they got them naturally. So my point is though, it's natural though. I don't look at it as what in the world are you doing? How did you do that? No, that's just you. So like Sweet Lulu Bean was saying, this is we know what we are, we know who we are, and we know that this is normal for us. And then moving forward. So my point is to that solution number one, get some cultural relevance. South Africa is only one place, and South
Yeah.
Africa is so huge, it has to have so many capitals. You know, same thing with Kenya, Tanzania. Same thing with when you go up to the north. Same thing when you go to the west, Ghana, Nigeria, wherever you are, Chad. They're all different countries. So you got 54 more or less countries on the continent, and I say more or less because they're like, oh no, Egypt don't belong to Africa. Yes, it does, but okay, fine. We're not getting into that. What I'm
Right.
saying though is that get some cultural relevance because the great divide right now is this confusion. Y'all are trying to make a big fuss about I'm fat and I'm black, I'm in the States, like the video you were showing on Lizzo.
Yeah.
So that's taking away from the fact of the matter, which is you're of African descent. What do you know about that? What can you
Nothing.
celebrate about that? Right, exactly. Nothing. You're not bringing anything. And then, like Patrice is saying, from the top down, you have the same forces that are creating the divide that are saying, don't know yourself, don't know your roots, don't know anything about these people that you are. Because if you see somebody who looks like their eyes are slanted, their hair is black and straight, you're going to say, hey, where are you from? They're going to say the Philippines, Japan, China.
Hmm.
They're going to name a country, even if they are several generations removed. We're not doing that because the powers that be, the top down, this is what their intention was, but we don't have to accept it. We can learn about ourselves and respect and love every sweet Lulu bean that shows up, every Madagascarian or however you would say that, that culture that shows up, and not say, no, that's not me because I don't know where my people from, but that's not. No, 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 that's the plan. And all of these different things are a part of the Great Divide, so that even when you have people, our people coming from home into other parts of the world, they're looking at, like Sweet Little Bean said, they're looking at how in the world are these women able to walk down the street and not have a hard time? What is going on with the way they're raising their children? Why don't I even see children in the street? Oh, because it's so unsafe here in the States that we don't let our children out. All three of my children are in the house currently. We have to buy things for them to exercise and enjoy themselves inside so that until we're ready to go outside with them,
Yes.
then they don't really go outside, and we're
Right.
not, and then they're not going outside to get shot, they're not going outside to get killed. I don't even know what they're going outside to get because I'm scared.
I'm with you. Thank you so much for coming back, Third Coast Royalty, my A1 Day One interview. So I'm so glad that you showed up. Now, I will say this: no one here is saying that Africans are any better than us, right?
No,
We all have
correct.
our flaws. We all have every culture. Every culture has the exact same thing. The ones that are at the bottom and the ones at the top, the ones who are in the middle just trying to figure it out. We all have that. What we are saying though is there is a better way to do things. And some of those things we should be more connected to because we do have some ties back there. Now, one
Yes.
thing that I will say, me personally, I know my history. I know that as an
Hmm.
entire human race, we all stem from Lucy, one African woman on the continent. Okay, great. But we also know that over time we turned into tribes and we migrated across lands, right? My people, the ones that I know, all of them are from right here in America. The black folks who spawned me the last 400, 500 years ish, right here in America. So while I am of African descent or lineage, what I know most is that I am a black American. And that's entirely different from being an African American, a white American, or any other American. It's a
Can I
unique
add
set of
something there?
circumstances. Yeah, let me just say this. In my mind's eye, I see us as a second world nation inside of a first. And that's the problem. We keep trying to emulate that first world country when we're not there. But go ahead, Quita.
Yeah, so this is what I want to add though. Nobody, not nobody else, but what I want to say is though that is a part of the disparity. Exactly what you said is still a part of what the intention was from other folks that are setting that up. Sure, you might have been here 3, 4, 5, 12 million years on this continent because our people were all over the world. Facts. That's just where we were, all over the world. But the point is that there should not be a disconnect, and we should get more understanding of the culture. There's still people right now that I that believe that Africans don't have indoor plumbing. Africans don't have indoor homes.
You're
Africans are
correct.
barefoot. And so my point is
Africans
that's
don't
why.
like Black Americans. That's what
Right,
But
they've done.
Lulu, okay,
right,
so let's talk about the
right.
truth of the matter though. There is, see, this is the thing. And I'm not out here to offend anybody. The way I see it is this: all of us who look like this, we all in the same damn boat. Right. At the end of the day, when they come looking for us, if we look like this, we look like this.
Hmm.
So we all gonna have the same, the same outcome. I'm that we're all the same, right? We brown skinned black folks from whatever continent, we're on this continent right now, we're all going to go through the same thing. And so, but we have to also admit that there is a reality that there are some who come here who don't care for us. We
But why
also have
bother?
to
Listen,
admit,
why bother mentioning that? Why bother mentioning that? Don't
hold
even
on,
bother mentioning that.
because no, I say we have to acknowledge it. Someone said it. We have to
We
acknowledge
don't.
it because we
But we
also have to acknowledge that there are Black Americans here, foundational Black Americans who have a particular feeling about folks from the continent. I can't say that, you understand what I'm saying? If Lulu Bean sits here and says, well, that it's a myth that Africans don't like Black folks, we have to address it. That is not entirely a myth, because there are also Black folks who don't like Africans just because they came from the continent. We know that the two can
but
be true.
but that's one of those divides. That's what I'm trying to say. Like instead of wasting time talking about, well, we don't and they don't. That's what I'm trying to say is that all of that is the intentional divide because you don't hear anybody saying white trash don't like white collar. That's
No,
not a conversation. It does not have to be had. So what I'm saying is, I don't like lazy people. I don't care what color you are. So why bother saying black folks, black lazy people make me sick? But we will, and we will say it publicly. So my point is, a part of being completely on code all the time is not doing what Lizzo is doing, double talking. Your lyrics are saying ridiculousness, and you're completely off code because from the top down, you have bought into that code and that system. So that's where I'm saying, nah, that this the solution is get on code, and this is part of the way you get on code. Get a way bigger perspective of cultural relevance. For example, the Namibians are the fighters. The Namibians are the ones that was like, nah, you ain't doing that here. But just like she told us, or was it the Zimbabweans? She was speaking about, Sweet Little Bean was speaking about the Zimbabweans, like, yeah, they had buck breaking there too. Whereas a lot of us here believe that, oh man, I'm the only one that had it. And
mm,
it's like, look, instead of worrying about who had it, who didn't, worry more about who are my people, how are my people set up, how did we move in the past, how can we move like that now. Don't sweat the stuff that any of the negative parts, because you will always have thieves, robbers, crooks, and folks that acted up in every nationality group, whatever, but you ignore that part. Not necessarily ignore it, because like you're saying, you know about it, but
yeah.
you don't bring it to the forefront. You don't keep talking about it, and you don't necessarily make it a point of conversation because it's not nearly as important as the divide. Once they can divide you, that's how they have this huge group over here that's moving way faster. The twerking people, they are making faster advancements because that catches on way more than the people that, like Sweet Lulu Bean was saying, that are involved in different sports clubs and educational clubs and clubs that create thinkers and movers and shakers. When you keep the whole debate going on about, you know, let's focus on this though. No, let's just say, oh well, yeah, it's some, not all, and then leave it at that and move on to whatever the most progressive part is, because that's what the successful people do, that are successful in their missions, that are successful in their dividing us and all of that. And I'm trying not to say races and whatnot, but
Yes.
I'll mute for now.
No. That's
I-
fine. I'm not really.
can I just interject a little bit on and push back a little bit on what Keita said, because I believe it should be addressed when it's in your face, right? Like when you have to address it. Like, and I'm gonna give you an instance. I lived in a neighborhood in the and there was three sisters from Ghana that moved to America in the 80s, and they came, to America, and they looked down on us. They treated, and what made it so bad is they treated the darker skinned Black people like me, because I had problems with them. They thought they were better than us. And if you were darker, they treated like we were all little, and they treated me like crap. And I had to literally go to my mom and say, they look like me, except they lighter. Why they treat me a certain way? And then learn later that they thought they were better. They come over here, and a lot of them. And the thing about it is, and that is because of the mentality of since the beginning of civilization. They have been taught the same way the Mexicans, the same way any other race. All those other races have been taught that Black people are the worst race of people in the world. So even when they come over to America, they already have it in their mind, those thoughts, and they think that they're better than us. I've experienced it in the workplace. I've experienced it where I've lived, I've lived around a mixed race of people. Mexicans think they better. Puerto Ricans think they better, any Latino, Hispanic, and then the Africans come over and they think they better. So I've experienced it personally, and I've had to address it personally when the situation comes. So I think it's when you need to address that situation, because they want to come to America where it's the greatest opportunities ever, but then they want to look down on Black people. And I think that's every race of people that have been brainwashed to believe that Black people are the worst race of people there is on the earth, which is absolutely ludicrous.
Okay, but let's okay, so let's do this. First of all, I'm in agreement that we are all Black folks on this continent. Once you get here, we all look the same when it's time to go to war. When we in the streets, you my brother, you my sister, because them other folks don't look nothing like us, and they coming for my neck too. Having said that, looking at what you just said, Patrice, and what Third Coast Royalty has down here, this is the reason why I feel like it should be addressed sometimes, Quita. Because it's the assumption that these people are coming from, and I'm saying it's the assumption that Africans are coming to America because what they have there is not great, and they want to steal American wealth from who? Black folks. They want to displace us. First of all,
wait, you're saying that they are coming here to steal wealth? Continental Africans?
There is an assumption from some in the Black community that is the case. And so in that case, we do need to address it because it's not true, right? Right. So then we have to address it, Quita, because we have to be able to say to Third Coast Royalty, yes, they are coming from another country where their currency is valued differently than ours. We need to be more specific about the things that we're talking about. These people didn't come from a country that's less worthy, that the people are less anything. Their currency is valued differently from ours. Even if they're going to come here to earn it, there's nothing wrong with them earning it, though, is it? Third Coast Royalty? Why can't there is no scarcity in America, and that's the problem. We all live with a scarcity mindset.
There is scarcity in America, and I think that's the whole point. Like we should see. That's probably a topic that's more worth addressing, because a lot of continental Africans, and when I say continental, I mean the people that were born and raised there, and they were sold the dream on TV, the same dream we're being sold here in the States, the nightmare, because it's a dream, it's a bad dream, and it's pretty much a tall tale, a fairy tale, folklore, whatever, that we can, oh, it's the land of milk and honey and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of them come over here because they believe the same lie. Because you have to look at, here's solution number two. Watch a lot of expat channels. People who have expatriated. There's currently a big exodus. This is part of what they don't want. People don't want to know about, to hear about, that we're going back home on a large scale. And you will hear the majority of us, when we get there, we're being told by them, why'd you leave? I want to go there. And the people that have come from the States are saying, trying to tell them the truth. No, it's not the Bill Cosby show. That's a bad example, but anyway, it's not In Living Color. It's not any of these shows. You are here where there. I'll give this small synopsis, this small example. This is a short story, so to speak, where a businessman told a fisherman, "Hey, come work for me. I'll set it up so that you can sleep in, you can work a little bit in the daytime, spend time with your family, and have leisurely evenings." He said, "I already have that." And the businessman was like, "Yeah, but I can do that for you. You can come, you can work hard. In 20, 30 years, you'll be able to do that." And he's like, "I'm already doing that because I have what I need. My family is my wealth. We appreciate each other. So, we sleep in the morning. We have leisurely evenings. We wake up in the middle of the day to work and get things done." But that's basically the dream that we're all being told and sold here in the States and Canada and the UK. And then when you get right down to it and you go to these, not CNN and main media channels where they have all the reality shows that are lie shows, it's not reality, it's a false reality.
Yeah.
But people actually think that's real life. So since that's the biggest media, people aren't going straight down to, let me go to YouTube. Instagram is like an imitation of life. People aren't going to these other places where they actually are showing you on a day-to-day basis. Wait a minute, the Africans are flossing. And I'm not going to even say African. The Nigerians are flossing. The Ghanaians are flossing. The Namibians are flossing. And when I say flossing, they're showing up. They're showing out. They've got great infrastructure. They've got paved roads. And when I say great, it's as great as it is here. Because the same way we have bridges collapsing in the States, they have bridges collapsing there. But most of them stay standing. Why? Because there's great infrastructure. Like Sweet Lulu Bean said, but I think the solution is, people, if you're already here on YouTube anyways, go to the African YouTube channels and you'll see some stuff that looks just like your current life. And you might also realize that even though the currency is different, it also balances. Our
Right.
currency is imbalanced so that we can work 3 jobs and still barely make it, so that we look like we're normal. Over there, they can work 3 jobs and be extremely wealthy. But I yield. Thank you.
I just want to say thank you all so much for a fantastic conversation and for being here. Third Coast Royalty, I'm going to bring you up in just a second. I'm going to let you speak in just a second, but this is exactly what I would like to be able to do at some point. I would like to be able to have a few people up here and I just be the moderator in the middle. We'll have a debate. I would like to be able to do it debate style, i.e., I give you all a topic in a week, you come back, you have to argue your side for 10 minutes, and then you have to argue the opposing side for 10 minutes. And then the jury, which is the rest of us, will be able to critique your. I think that that's how we do this. One of the things we need to teach our people how to communicate, whether it's with one another or with other cultures, folks from other continents, whatever the case may be, we got to do a better job of communicating and respecting each other. And maybe if we set out a debate style platform, we can show them what that looks like and not have, all of these men out here exposing babies and whatnot because they're in their feelings and emotions. No offense, gentlemen. It's just that y'all are the ones doing it right now. But go ahead, Third Coast Royalty.
How y'all doing? How everybody doing, man? I just want to speak to everybody first.
Thank you. Glad to see you.
Hey, how you doing?
All right, all right. I'm not really trying to debate or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? Because a debate is gonna be divisive. Like my girl just said, we looking for solutions. I came up here because y'all was talking about raising kids and stuff, and she was like she wasn't gonna raise her kids in America, and I was kind of like I was taken back by that because I know people from Africa, and in certain parts of Africa, $50 in American money could be thousands of dollars in African money. You know what I'm saying? They ask you for stuff like that. Hey, send me $50, and then lo and behold, to you, you done sent them $2,000, and that's only $50 out of your pocket. That's why I
Remember,
said
I'm
what I
speaking
said.
for myself. I'm not from I have my own set of circumstances. I'm Xhosa. So it's got nothing to do with money or anything for me. I want to raise my children as Xhosa. Not that I have an issue with America or how Americans are raised. I want them raised in my culture and to have my perspective. I didn't come to America to look down on my people. I didn't come to America to downplay what you guys have going on here. We come from the same history. We come from the same trauma. So before you talk,
But we don't, though.
I'm
It's
not
different.
here
It's
to
different.
Okay.
to downplay. So let's get that
Africa
out
is
the way.
different. Africa is
So
different from America. It's very different.
Africa is a big country. So I'm from
there
South
are lots
Africa.
of
I don't know
different.
which part of Africa you're speaking about.
I know people
In
Okay.
from
my
Ghana.
own
I know
So
country,
people
this
from
there
is
is
Ghana.
9 different
pause.
tribes, and
Both
we
of
see
you, I
things
will put you
differently.
both on
So
mute
you
if I
need to be
can't get you
speaking
to
about
hear
the
me
part of
first.
Africa that you're talking about.
All right. So what we're not going to do is have the argument back and forth. As I said, debate. There's a difference between debate, argument, division, or discussion. And what's happening right here is arguing. When I say debate, you have a topic and we both focus on that topic. One of the things that I want to say right here, though, is there's some emotion involved in this. And I think that that's the thing that we do have to have these conversations, Quita, to address. Look at the emotion involved. Third
Yeah,
Coast
because
Royalty, Lewis.
Lulu Bean got triggered there, and I think that we need to be, a little bit more mindful. Things trigger people, so and we all can't talk at the same time. So Third World was talking. Let him complete what he wants to say, and then Lulu Bean respond to that. I think that'll be better.
All right. And then let's just try to make sure that we're keeping it in the context. We're not attacking anybody. We're not attacking anybody's culture. We're just talking about the differences that we see amongst ourselves. Let's keep it very focused, please. Go ahead, Third Coast Royalty. Or Lewis. I'm not going to
Yeah,
teach you
that
that
me.
way.
All
Lewis.
of that. All three of those are me. All of that. But I was saying it's different in over there in their countries. Like she was saying, be more specific. I know people from Ghana. I know people from Ethiopia. You know, I go to Atlanta all the time. And in Atlanta, when you go to certain places in Atlanta, you know, the Africans are posted up and they're selling things. You know what I'm saying? So I buy a lot of stuff. I associate with a lot of Africans on a daily basis when I go down there, because at one point in my life, I would spend money buying purses from the Africans, and I would come back to my shop and I would sell those purses along with the wallets. And the more purses I bought, the better deal they would give me. So I got a relationship with these people. I'm talking to these people all the time because I'm spending money with them. So I'm telling you how they are in their country. They do things totally different from how we do things over here. That's basically all I was saying. So I was saying that because I was listening to her. She was saying like she was so amazed how women can walk down the street. They have a big problem with rape in Africa. Like she said, if a woman puts on a certain outfit, she could possibly be raped. They have things that women can put inside their vaginas for as like a rape protection type of device over there, because rape is so rampant. You see what I'm saying? So it's that country is way different from over here. You can walk down the street with your children over here. They're not
Okay.
playing in the street with no shoes on over here. You see what I'm saying? That's why I said it's
Yes.
different.
Yeah. So let me say this, and then Sweet Lulu Bean, I'm going to let you speak. What you're expressing though is the fact that we have more laws to protect our women over here. It's not a these people thing. They're those things just haven't moved that forward. I haven't moved forward yet. Should there be more protections for women in other countries? We all probably believe so on some spectrum, right? But I think that we need to take away the individuals that are coming here from their country of origin, right? Because let's think of it this way. When I look at Lewis, I see Lewis and then his family of origin. You may have gotten a lot of great things from your family of origin, but you are still your own individual. So each African who comes from whatever part of the continent who comes over here is still their own individual. And more than likely, they are coming over here to fulfill their individual dream, which in no way is about taking away from other Black folks or looking down on other Black folks once they get here. But Sweet Lulu Bean, I'm gonna go ahead and let you respond to what Lewis had to say. Whoops, sorry, that was me. Go ahead.
I don't know if Lewis wants me to say, like, if I've sold South Africa, because that's all I can speak for. If I've sold Africa like some Nirvana, I apologize. It rains over there, people die, we have AIDS, there's rape. So bad things happen over there. If you want me to paint Africa as some fly-infested country with people with swollen stomachs and people walking around barefoot, that is not what I'm going to do. If I were to go to America, and remember, I'm speaking to him directly, and I don't mind a person coming and asking me directly. I'm answering him directly. When I speak and I get onto the attorney show and I get onto JP show, I'm thinking we're talking about solutions and we're talking about the better part. But if me saying that I was shocked that one is able to walk safely without being harassed at midnight and your cheeks are out, if me saying that means that Africa is perfect and you can't get raped, then I apologize. So I don't know if that's how you would like me to start any point that I make. But yeah, bad things happen in Africa. Anything else you'd like me to mention? The wars? Anything
things
else?
happen in America too. Bad things happen in America.
Droughts?
That's not what
Anything
I'm saying.
else?
The majority.
Anyway, JP, going back to this is my experience in terms of traveling, in terms of dealing with immigrants. I'll give you an example. The first time I went to Zimbabwe, I didn't want to go because this was when Robert Mugabe had kicked all the whites out. So we're getting pictures in the news, of clashes, violence, no food or anything like that.
A Sweet Little Bean.
Mm-hmm.
I want to say this. What's his name's Third Coast Royalty? His mic is low, so he was saying something, but I don't think you heard him.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay.
Wait, I'm sorry, I didn't hear him.
It's okay. I'm good. It's okay.
Yeah,
it's okay. We're going to do this. I'm going to use this as a teachable moment really, really quick. What we're not going to do is say things like she's triggered or stop being a sensitive woman. I know that's what happens over in the red pill community, but if we're going to move conversations forward on this side, we have to not try to push each other's buttons. Right?
No,
and calling her,
yeah, but it is a such thing as that.
I agree. But we could use let's just think about it. If she is upset and triggered, what's going to happen when you call her that? Right? So a lot easier just to let Quita say what she needed to say, and we'll let Third Coast Royalty come in. But we got to stop trying to push each other's buttons. She may be triggered, but you don't have to say it that way. You don't have to say that she's being a sensitive.
I don't think it was intentional. I just think it's a general conversation. I don't think Third was trying to intentionally do that.
Right. And I was just saying that to Sweet Lulu Bean because when she started talking to finish what she was saying, I heard Lewis like, dang. But I wanted Lewis to know, like, your mic is low because I'm listening on my headset and I can hear it loud and clear. But the other day, he still is softer. And the other day when I wasn't using my headset for a minute, he was softer. I put my headset in, he was louder. So Sweet Lulu Bean, I was just letting you know, like, hey, sometimes I don't think he can hear you. I mean, or you can, some of us can't hear him, but go ahead. I know you were finishing what you were saying too.
No, I didn't hear the dang part. And so please, let's make sure that we try not to speak over each other. We can have this conversation and it's going to be difficult. We may even get emotional about it. And we may need to just pull back for a second and give that person some time to get all of what they have to say out and understand it's not about us as individuals. It's about the message itself and moving this ball forward. Okay. That's my goal. So if we avoid the things that we know may unintentionally cause somebody to get there, the side remarks, the offhanded things, they do a detriment to the actual conversation. That's why I said debate and not discussion, because there is a set of rules and parameters by which you go to get it done. Okay.
But debate means go against, or I'm making my point against your point. That's why I say I don't debate. I'm not debating. I was just stating what I know about Africa. That's all I was doing, stating what I know about Africa. This is not what I feel. This is not my emotions about how I think Africa is. These are the things that they do over there.
What you know about Africa
Can
from buying
you
purses from a few Africans.
So
So
that's
now
my
you know
personal
about
experience.
Africa because you bought
can
one
you
or two
see how
purses.
your expertise level may be different than Sweet Lulu Beans?
Okay, she's the expert. I'm not. I'm going off
I'm
secondhand information. She's from there. So my
okay.
information is what was told to me from my friends.
No,
see
you
what I'm
said what
saying?
you know about Africa. So I'm saying what you know about Africa is
I've
what
already
you know
stated.
from
I've
buying
already stated.
purses.
I've already
From what
stated
you know from
that they
speaking to, I don't know which
listen, ma'am,
Africans
listen,
Okay,
ma'am,
from
ma'am,
where.
guys,
ma'am,
So let's
bring it
be
down,
clear
please.
ma'am, ma'am,
about you and
4,
ma'am.
Africa.
3, 2. Oh, thank you. I really don't want to have to count down to adults. Okay, so what I am hearing is that Sweet Lulu Bean is saying you said what you know about Africa is based on what other people have told you, Third Coast Royalty. And Sweet Lulu Bean, what Third Coast Royalty is saying to you is what I have heard, though, is it's not the best over there. You both can be right and wrong at the same time. Okay? We've got to hear the actual message and not our underlying argument or irritation.
But not one time did I try to speak over her.
Now
She
I'm
waits till
irritated
my
I
with the
turn to
understand.
person
We're
speak
not.
that's
over me.
coming here
Get Sweet
telling me
Lulu
that
Bean. We're not going to continue to talk over people, and we're certainly not going to talk over Janine. Okay, we're all going to be respectful, and he is making that attempt. His issue, and it seems to me, without putting words in Lewis's mouth, is that the issue for him right now is your unwillingness to let him finish his entire statement before you speak. That is a problem when we're talking about dialogue or debate in general. Can we understand that and try to avoid it? Sweet Lulu Bean,
I'm quiet.
I appreciate that. Lewis, go ahead.
Like I was saying, the information that I have came directly from people that live there, that come to America to have better than what they had growing up. Like a lot of us that didn't have anything growing up. You see what I'm saying? But it's different because I'm here and I can do something about it. Over there, it's like they have a cap. They can only get so much. So then they come over here to gain more. That's my point that I'm trying to make. They come over here to gain more. Not to say America is better. America has better opportunities than parts of Africa, is what I'm saying.
Sweet Lulu Bean, would you like to respond?
That's not what he said. He said he was taken aback by me wanting to raise my children in Africa. But anyway, I'm sorry for being rude and sorry for interrupting. So I wanted to talk about perception.
Yes.
So I was telling you that my perception of Zimbabwe was that it's this place where it's violent. I was believing what I saw in the news. There's no food, people are hungry. And my husband wanted me to go meet his new niece. I told you that his brother is married to a Zimbabwean colored woman and they just had the second baby. I did not want to go because I'm believing this perception. So when we get there, the first thing that shocks me is this country where Mugabe allegedly kicked out all these whites. The plane is white. It's just white people. So I'm like, okay, so if this country has collapsed, where are all these white people going? We go into Zimbabwe. You don't even need to go into a grocery store because food is sold out in the streets. People, a normal person selling, because of the currency has collapsed, a person has $3,000 on them on the street, and you can go change your currency on the street. Almost everybody in Zimbabwe has a second degree. There is no credit in Zimbabwe. So the houses that you see standing belong to them. The cars that you see belong to them. But I went in with this perception of what Zimbabwe was supposed to be like. Then I'm speaking to my husband's wife, who's saying South Africa is so much better. She wants to go to South Africa. And I'm telling her, listen, I've got to work. In South Africa, people have credit up to the hilt. In Zimbabwe, you can talk to the police. In South Africa, you can't. In Zimbabwe, the police ask a lift from you. They ask you to come down to the police station. You could talk to them. In South Africa, that's not there. In Zimbabwe, the only issue is you're not going to get employment. In Zimbabwe, you have to make a plan for yourself. You have to be your own employment. And so you find people selling airtime instead of going to the store. You find people selling goods. So the only time that people go to South Africa and Zimbabwe is when they aren't able to figure out a plan for themselves in terms of how to employ themselves. My father's gardener was a graduate. He had he had 2 degrees in mathematics and in accounting. He was educated. So imagine if I hadn't gone to Zimbabwe and I had just spoken to him, what my view of Zimbabwe would have been. You come to South Africa. People think that South Africa is the land of milk and honey, just like they do here in America. Mm-hmm. And you have an issue with South Africans not liking it when other Africans come over because they create businesses. Zimbabweans, Nigerians, they don't come in there looking for jobs. They come in opening businesses because they can see opportunities that South Africans can't see. So every time I go somewhere, I see that there does seem to be a negative perception coming from people who come from the outside coming in and people from the inside coming out. And also there's this perception that, you know, Africans who come here don't have money or are uneducated. A plane ticket to America is expensive. I don't know anybody anywhere. My friends are all over the world. I don't know anybody that is South African that is traveling, that isn't going because they have a job, that isn't educated, it doesn't come from a middle class background. Sometimes people are traveling just for opportunity and just for travel's sake. Not every African that you see is here because they're poor.
Okay, so let's bring this back to where we all started from, right? And we were originally having a discussion about Lizzo and the crying and whether or not she was a good role model or representation for our children. That led us to this conversation about whether or not you would decide to choose whether or not you would parent here in America or in Africa. And you said you wanted your children to be Kosa. I cannot say it very well. I'm not good at that part. But so my question to you is this then: why can't your children be raised Kosa here in America?
The language, and like you said, you cannot even click the click song. So they need to know how to click, and they're not going to learn that here in America. So
hold on. We're gonna slow it down just a little bit so I can get questions in between with people listening. Okay. So when you say that they don't know how to click, do you not have a community here? People that you speak to?
Not a lot of Xhosas. No, I'm not saying Xhosas don't travel, but there's not a big Xhosa community. And for instance, in my culture, when you're a certain age, you have a coming of age ceremony. Mm-hmm. And that can only be done, you know, in your homeland with your people. So okay. I would want to raise my children in Africa until the age of about 15, 16. And then bring them over here for higher education. But the traditional background, the cultural background, that I'd like to raise them in the actual culture.
So if it's higher education here, why would you take them back over there?
It's after a certain age. Go ahead, Sweet Lulu.
Say that again?
You said you would raise them over there until they're 15 or 16, and then you will come back for higher education. If it's higher education here, why would you take them over there? And
there's good schools.
Here, that means it's lower there.
Listen, I'm not trying to defend South Africa, but there's very, very good schools in South Africa, and we've got good universities where foreigners go over there to study. The only reason that I am bringing my children when they're older this side is because they're older and they're still American. They have cousins this side. They have family this side that they also have to get to know.
So you believe that their American culture is just as important as their African culture?
Yes.
You believe, though, that you'll need to take them back to Africa for the first 15 or 16 years to get them as much of their African culture in them as you can before you bring them back to the United States?
Correct.
Why?
Okay, so check me out. They make batteries out of a material that is mined in Africa by children. They're using children to mine these places to get stuff just for our batteries to put in our watches or whatever we use batteries in. These kids are in mines. They're not even taking baths. They're not showered. They don't got no.
Which part of Africa? Is it the whole of Africa? From the top to the bottom of Africa?
I wish I wouldn't have brought it up because I don't know the exact place. So I wish I wouldn't have brought it up. But I know this for a fact because they white people own these mines and they're using these kids and they're only feeding them rice. They're not even giving them money.
Let me say this, more to the point in this regard, Lewis. How does what you said move the discussion forward? How does it move forward? Hold on.
There's higher education for her children in America, but she's going to take them to Africa so they can learn their family. I'm assuming so they can learn their family or learn how to click, whatever that is. You know what I'm saying? Some other language.
Learn the language.
Can I say this?
Like me, I told you, I'm all about being progressive and I'm all about having a leg to stand on. So a separate language. If I can speak two languages, like just say I speak Spanish and I speak English.
It's having a leg to stand on, saying the whole of Africa is full of child labor.
Okay, stop, pause. Please, y'all let him speak.
Listen, if I can speak Spanish and I can speak English, I can be a translator for non-Spanish speaking people. That's a business opportunity that I can have. Now, for me to be able to click, what business can I present to my children saying, hey, learn this language and you'll be able. You feel what I'm saying? It's no business in that. The only business would be something progressive.
Hey, Lewis, can I say this? I have to go, y'all. So that's why I was trying to butt in, Lewis. I wasn't trying to disrespect or cut you off because I gotta go record for something else, and I keep trying to stay here, and I know I can't. I love y'all, but I
appreciate you being here, Quita.
Yeah, I would definitely advise everybody to check out Wodemaya's channel. WODE is the first name, MAYA, because he travels the continent, and most Africans speak no less than 3 languages, which means there's no value. But what we don't know as Americans is that there's no value in English. The value is in any other language. And not just that, but when she's talking about the clicks, it's several different clicks. My kids can do the clicks better than I can. And I'm like, what y'all know? You know, and we ain't never been. So my point is that we're teaching them, trying to teach them now to value the other African cultures. We don't focus on any Asian country because we realize that within Ghana, that's our next place to travel. Within Ghana, you have main languages and then you have all the dialects. And the people there, they speak 3 languages, they understand 20, or they speak 5 languages, they understand more. So the same way you're talking, Lewis, they got the same mindset. They know that they can use that for entrepreneurial purposes. But anyway, Lewis, I appreciate your perspective, and I would definitely encourage everybody on the replay, the people on the panel, even you, Sweet Lulu Bean, you might already know about Wodemaya. Check him out because he visits all the countries. The country that you're talking about, the Congo, he talks about there where I thought it was just they would just had children here mining. He's been to the Congo. He's showing you the paved roads, what's happening. Of course, he did not go to where they're just feeding those children rice and doing them wrong. But yep, we can educate ourselves with just a few hours a day with that one channel alone. And
if there was any place in America that had children in mines, we would go shut that thing down instantly.
No, there are places.
No, we wouldn't.
There are places, Lewis. You just don't know about them specifically. But that's why every time, that's why they talk about trafficking, and you find out, oh, they was trafficking right there in Atlanta.
Trafficking is something different. Now that's different than what I'm talking about.
It's still abusive children. What are you?
That's right.
Yeah,
I'm agreeing with you on the evilness of the abuse.
Third world. Where you talking about that's happening is in the Republic of Congo. It's in Congo. That's where that's happening at.
Right. So
okay,
why they not shutting it down?
Just like that, there are certain things that we can't shut down in this country. There are things that they can't get done in theirs. Hold on.
Who the traffickers are.
We okay. our own country is trafficking children. When you think about what's happening at the border, when we put those little kids in cages and then we traffic them all the way to New York and then lost them somewhere in New York, may or may not have gotten them back to our family. We don't have any control over that, but we're Americans. And so when they talk about that, they're talking about us too. We need to be very, very realistic about what we're saying here. I said again, we're talking about the individuals and why they are coming over here or we're willing to go over there. Why would she like to parent her children abroad versus here? And what you're giving me is there are a lot of things bad that happen in Africa. So why take them there? She's telling you there are a lot of things bad that happen in Africa and America, but there is more culture, more family, more connectedness inside of the community on the continent for what she wants for her children, that there is that connectedness here in America. What I am looking for is how we get that connectedness as Black Americans and then as the Black diaspora.
Please drop that channel into the chat if you can.
Did you put
Y'all
it
look
on
for
the
it.
private chat for me?
Okay, I'll do that before I head out. Yes.
Thank you, Quita.
JP, I
Okay.
don't want to can I speak? I don't want to
Yes.
interrupt.
Go ahead.
I don't, like you said, you had a conversation, which was Lizzo, and I don't want to take it too far, but I have a friend of mine who has a mine in Nigeria. Nigeria is, think of it as the wild, wild west, where basically the society has collapsed. And he has just gotten a contract with a Swiss company, and he has to prove, because of what's going on, if you're talking about a place where there's lawlessness, where there's violence, where there's war, a lot of things can be expected to be wrong in those countries. But he's a Nigerian that is trying to correct that. You have Zimbabwe, where there are a lot of blacks that own mines since Mugabe changed things there. And you actually have, I know, African Americans that own mines in Zimbabwe, and they're not using child labor in Zimbabwe. So he has to be cognizant of where it's happening, what the situation is. And why I'm saying he is disingenuous is he's not having, it is a divisive conversation, because you're asking me to justify why they don't shut down child labor. They're trying. I know people who are in the business that are trying, but we will always have societal issues that we'll have to fight against. I'm not out here asking you to justify Americans' ills, because it's unfair. It happens.
Okay.
You're coming from a very disingenuous place.
Hold on. Without using the term, without take aside the part disingenuous, Lewis, can you understand what it is that she's saying? That she nor you as individuals, as an individual Black man or foundational Black American, and her as an individual South African woman, neither of you have that level of control to which you are bringing the conversation. So we want to bring the conversation to back what we can control, right? That's what she's saying when she's saying you're being disingenuous. Those things are all true. Yes, it is happening. Yes, there was all kinds of issues, but we as individuals can only do certain things. So how can you, me, and Sweet Lulu Bean get on the same page for the betterment of all of our children, because they're all both Black and African American? You feel me?
I just feel like in America, the standard of living is changing. There was one standard at one point in time, and now with the progression that we're going through, there is going to be a new standard of living. I'm talking about being more accountable for our kids and stuff like that. Because at one point in time, people were just letting their kids do anything. And like my man said earlier, folks is letting TikTok raise their kids. Okay, well, not everybody's letting TikTok raise their kids. You know what I'm saying? Not everybody is giving their child all the freedoms in the world. Some people have their kids living at a certain standard. You know what I'm saying? And in America, we've been dealt a bad hand, but we're dealing with it, and we're making the best out of the situation that we have at hand. And I just feel like the opportunities that are given in America are more opportunities over here than there are in any other country, not just Africa. I'm not just singling out Africa. I'm talking about all these other poor countries that these people come from, like the Philippines or Puerto Rico or Cuba. All of these poor countries, they leave their country and they come to America to be better.
That's
I
just
don't
not
think.
true. That's just
Hold
not
on.
true. You,
Let
you
me.
I'm supposed to be gone. I'm out, y'all. I'm
Right. So
leaving.
hold on, Quita, stay there so I can say this. First of all,
Okay.
thank you all so much, Blind Guy, his wife, their life. Y'all show up for me all the time, and I truly appreciate that. Again, thank you for being the first to buy me a Sage bundle. Again, y'all, there are links to my blog page at the bottom of most of my descriptions, and I try to put up an article related to what we're talking about each time. But please make sure y'all go over and check out Blind Guy, his wife, their life. I know several of you are already subscribed over there. And so again, though, Quita, just thank you. I know you got to go, so I want to let you get a chance to get up out of here. But I had to shout you out because you always hold me down.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And the only reason I say that's not true is because if you have not been to the other places, you can't say that. And I will say that's the lie they're selling to the other people, and that's the reason why you got Lizzo now talking out of both sides of her mouth. I'm fat,
So,
I'm black, and I'm happy. But
so
I'm
you saying,
saying
hold on, wait a minute. You saying the places I name aren't poor places?
correct. That is exactly what I'm saying. They are not poor
Cuba, Puerto
places.
Rico, Philippines, certain parts of
Correct.
Africa, those are not poor countries.
Including Cuba, correct. The same way that you have South Carolina, one of the poorest states, Tennessee, you have the same thing in every other country that you mentioned that you have here in the States. You got some rock bottom places. Go to Skid Row. Go to Skid Row where the people are on the sidewalks. Google it, check it out. And you ain't never seen that in any other country.
So it's more
The
poor.
tent,
It's just oh, let me say something. It's just as much poorness in America as it is abroad. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely. That is exactly what I'm saying. And go check out Watermaya's channel. If you have not seen all of Africa, if you have not seen people on an everyday basis, they got the same cities we got. They got they got country areas. They call it a village. They don't call it the a country or the town. They call it a village. But it's the same. It's the same thing, Louis. I ain't
But
lying.
outside of that city, it's nothing. Even if you
No,
go to Puerto Rico, I got a friend who's Puerto
Oh,
Rican.
wow.
that's what
I
I'm.
got a
But
friend. I got a friend. He's Puerto Rican. When he goes see his folks, they still fighting chickens, and they got like outhouses and stuff. You know what I'm saying? His
look
mama
at
is
it for
a hoe
yourself.
from Puerto Rico.
Look at Waldemaya's channel for yourself, because what I'm trying to explain to you is that
Everything
that's
I
not
said is personal for
I
me. I've only
may
named
may I
personal places.
interject? May I interject? I think third is coming from a statistical point of view, and which, statistically, some of the poorest countries um, are in African countries.
according to whose statistics.
That's what I'm saying. According to, if you statistically look up what are some of the poorest countries, or what are the top poorest countries, or what is the number one poorest country in poverty, is listed as Central America, Central African Republican. Some of the listed statistically, some of the poorest countries in the world is South Sudan. I'm looking at Malawi,
Is America on
MALA,
that list?
So do
No,
this.
Dominican, of Congo, Mozambique. These are statistically listed as some of the poorest countries in the world. And the
Right. So
number
this is what
one
you
is
do.
the Central African Republic.
So what you do is every country that you see that, then you go to Waldemaya's channel and you search that country and watch what you see on his channel. What I'm saying is the brother is there in real time. All of 2020, he was traveling to these countries. We ain't talking about 5 years ago. We talking about right now. We ain't talking about 20 years ago. Every country that you listed, go to Waldemaya's channel and search that country. And he's been in the cities, he's been outside the cities. Everybody, I understand what you're saying, Lewis. You can always have one or two people you know, but that is not the norm. That's on one end of the spectrum or the other. The average is like the US. Everywhere is
exactly.
not Skid Row, everywhere is not LA. But the same way those two places are in proximity, we don't have tent cities in the state of Virginia, but they do have tent cities out there in Washington State, out there in Arizona and whatnot. I didn't even
Mm.
know there existed a tent city where people literally live in a tent in the US and get up and go to work with a suit and tie on.
But see,
I
I
Right.
don't,
think we,
And so
I
hold
think
on.
we're,
Let
I
me.
think we're misunderstanding what poor and poverty is from ghettos. I think there's that. It's a difference when we're talking poverty in general, not like being in the ghetto and people are poor. We're talking as a whole, poverty as a whole. All
It's
the
more
ones that are
prevalent in other
listed,
countries.
even as in 2021, I'm looking at the poorest countries in the world in 2021, and there are Congo, Liberia, Mozambique, Sierra Leone, Afghanistan is even listed there. I think
That's
we're
why but that's why what I'm saying is don't just look at those numbers, because so whoever wrote those numbers are the same people that wrote the Bible. They're the same people that wrote the Three Little Pigs. They're the same people that wrote all the other fairy tales. So you have to look at the source, because the
That ain't no
same way
fairy
we
tale.
Okay, so I think that one of the things that we need to do though is just be a little bit more realistic. And I think we should address this too. If you listen to both Sweet Lulu Bean and Third Coast Royalty, one thing you can tell is that they are patriotic, right? Both of them love and appreciate their culture, their country, their heritage, right? And those are that's two people from two countries where or continents where they have been beaten down most, right? These are the things that we need to start to look for, the things that we have in common from which we can grow. We look alike. We have been through similar atrocities on our individual continents. How can we come together and be bigger and better and become the new majority? How about that? How about instead of us trying to figure out what's bad between us, we come together to become the new majority in this country?
That's
What do we
solution.
do that? Right? How about Lewis, if I can't get you to have you have a son and a daughter or two?
2 daughters and 1 son.
Okay, so how about if I can get your son to marry Sweet Lulu Bean's daughter down the line, and then we got some extra strong African lineage back up in this country?
Hey,
What happens then?
I can't control the future. You know what I'm saying? I can only speak for what I can control. You know what I'm saying?
Indeed. So if you could teach your son to appreciate Africa with the same patriotism that you appreciate America, right? If he could see in that other melanated person, oh, we're still both melanated, and that's what matters the most. At the end of the day, you're melanated. That means you got the dominant gene. I'm melanated. I got the dominant gene. Let's go ahead and put this thing together and dominate some shit.
I'm looking past America and Africa. I'm looking past that. The reason why I made my statement is because she said she was gonna take them over there first so they can get her native language. Meaning she want them to have what she has.
Right, because how else are they going to? She's saying that they're not going to be able to get what she has in America because the village isn't big enough in America, right? I asked her specifically. She said about the language. There aren't enough people of her community in the United States for them to get immersed in the culture the way that she needs them to understand the language. Can you understand that part?
Yeah, I got that. I got that.
Okay.
That's why I said
So right. So, for example, we've got these folks out here trying to learn what is it, Tutnese, right? So, in order for us to learn Tutnese as an adult, it's going to be a lot harder if we took our children and submersed them in a culture where they're already learning Tutnese. They'd be talking circles around us in days. I'm not understanding why there's the conflict. We both understand that yes, on a macro level, all of these things are happening. But what we're trying to figure out is how to make moves on a micro level to change things for our people. And we're all our people.
I just see a lot of stuff in America being, and I don't want to sound like I'm just speaking for America and talking up for America, because America ain't really did much for the black community. Little to nothing at all. What I'm saying is, though, some people, we have figured out a way to make lemonade out of lemons. We have figured it out. You know what I'm saying? And I don't see a lot of poor countries being able to figure those same things out. That's why they come over here to figure it out. And then they go back over there.
Okay, but what about the things like devaluation of their currency, stripping them of a lot of their resources? These are things that are happening that are outside of these people's control.
I told you the lady told me to send her $50. $50 was like $2,000 in her money. And it wasn't but $50 for me. So she was
I
able to
understand.
live for a long time off of $50.
Tell me again the point that you're making with the statement.
The point that I'm making with the statement is, in America, we have better. I can't say better because I don't know everything about that, but I feel like in America there are more opportunities for a person to gain success abroad opposed to being anywhere else abroad, because the majority of other places abroad are poor and they don't have nothing.
Okay, so let's look up poor and poverty, right?
Right.
Just give me a second here.
Yeah, and love melanin to kind of
Patrice was
answer.
already showing you that though. Patrice had already pulled it up.
Did she?
Right. I said
I'm
it was
sorry.
a difference. Yeah.
Right. So I stepped away for a brief moment. I had to turn everything down for a brief moment. There's a puppy that lives with me, and sometimes I'm not in control of the situation. Sorry.
Oh,
So, um, but having said that, okay, so if we know that there's a difference between poor and impoverished and poverty, right? Then what's we have to understand their dollar, their currency, and in so devaluing their currency, yes, 50 American dollars looks like $2,000. I'll give you an example in reverse though. When I was a young girl, I lived in Germany, as I said before, and at the time they had the Deutschmark. They didn't have the euro. And the Deutschmark, you could go to Germany, and depending on the day, literally the day, you could either get 3 marks to $1, 1 mark to $1, and every now and then you could get 5 marks to $1. Right? Does that make Germany any less poor than any poorer than Americans?
Some parts of Germany are very poor.
Yes, that's not what I'm saying though. Does the fact that you could get 5 marks to $1 mean that the country is poor, or that all of the people are poor, or the majority of the people?
That means that the economy is doing bad. That's an economical thing when it comes to, okay, I can trade in my $1 and get 5 of yours. That means my economy is stronger than yours. My currency is more valuable than yours. So I'm going to exchange it for an up, a mark up in your country, or in Germany, I should say.
Can I add something right there?
Yes, Miss Not Supposed to Be Here. Go ahead.
I know, and look, I just walked out of the other meeting so I can say this. So what I think this is the main thing. Like everything that Third Coast Royalty is saying, he's saying it from a place of Western influence. So this is what they're telling us. Because it's the same way, Lewis, how you grew up living off the land, knowing what to do and how to do it, and having way more knowledge from your indigenous learning and from your grandfather and your grandparents raising you and telling you stuff. That's the sort of culture that you can't deny, and that's what Sweet Lulu Bean was saying. That's the sort of culture you can't get just anywhere, and that's the sort of thing that they are tricking for, because you know doggone well that your upbringing. Ooh, my.
can you
Yeah, you're dropping in and out a little bit.
Can you all hear me? Okay.
You're back
Okay.
now.
Sorry.
Uh-oh. All right, she dropped out. Boso, I'm gonna go ahead and let you go ahead and speak since you just got up here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear. Can you guys hear me?
I can. Thank you so much for joining the stream and the chat for the first time. I greatly appreciate it. What you want to go ahead and say to us?
Thank you so much. Very interesting conversation. However, I need to chime in on some of the things that the gentleman has been saying. I, just like Sweet Lulubelle, am from South Africa and currently living in Kuwait in the Middle East. So I had written in a few comments in the chat box that Africa is immensely diverse. Immensely diverse. Firstly, the size of Africa is 11.7 square 11.7 million square miles, whereas the USA is just over 4 million square miles. There's over 3,000 languages spoken on the African continent. It's not monolithic in any way, shape, or form. So when you say Africa, you need to be very specific about where you're talking about. Some countries in Africa have a vibrant democracy. Some countries in Africa are under dictatorship. Some countries in Africa have one of the best financial systems on the planet. Some better than the US, actually. Some countries in Africa almost do not have any type of formal banking whatsoever. So when you throw around words and say children in Africa work in mines, be very specific about where you're talking about. You know, are you talking about a country that has collapsed in terms of any type of laws? Or are you talking about in Egypt or South Africa or Nigeria or Botswana? You need to be very specific about which country you're talking about. Not just say, oh, in Africa, there's child labor. Because I can tell you that I had to wait until I was 16 in South Africa before I could waiter in a restaurant. And apart from that, I heard comments about, well, is it the Deutschmark in Germany? Please correct me if I'm wrong. Is that the former currency in Germany?
Yes, it is.
Because of the fluctuations, that's a clear sign that the economy there is not as strong as that of the US. Looking at the currency situation. Well, if you take a look at the yen, Japan has the third largest economy in the world. And look at the exchange rate between the US dollar and the yen. Look at the exchange rate between Britain, the UK, and the US. The British pound is far stronger than the US dollar. However, the economy in the UK is smaller than that of the US. Look at Kuwait, for example, where $3.3 is one Kuwait dinar. But the economy in the US is greater than that of Kuwait. So let's not conflate currencies with economy. And at the same time, when looking at Africa, as I said, be very specific because it's a very diverse continent.
In the Middle East, in India, I don't care where you name, bro. These places are poor. Okay? You can sit there and name any place in Africa. You can name any place. It don't matter. They are poor compared to America.
And if I may interject to his statement he made on China, and I think we have to look at it break it down from different perspectives within these continents, right, or countries. Even though China is one of the world's largest economies, there is a huge, and it's the same with Africa and the different continents of Africa. There's a huge income gap, which causes widespread poverty. So there is a slower urbanization rate. There's a slower development of these countries. So within each of these continents in Africa, in the same as your statement was about China being one of the largest economies, still though the income gap is one of the main causes of the widespread poverty in China. So both of you are right. The statement that he was making about the children in the mines, that was in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where that's going on, where these children are working in these mines. So, like, the difference of poor and poverty are two different things. I grew up poor, but I didn't grow up in poverty. Because when I go to Jamaica and saw what poverty really looked like and what ghettos really look like, I just grew up poor. So that's the difference that we have to be able to notice the difference. What
I
third
think
is talking about is poverty.
I think
Poverty, which is a difference
what
from poor.
And they tried to compare that to kidnapping children. It's not the same.
no
Working in the
who's
mine
No, no.
and then child kidnapping is two
Can
different
I
things.
none of them could create. No one connected poverty and kidnapping children.
can
I
I
will.
interject real quick?
Yes,
If I
Yazid, I
could,
wanted
after
to
Oh, I didn't say
introduce you.
that.
after you
Hold on,
finish.
pause. Let me just say, yeah, so I can let people know
Okay.
that you're here, Yazid. Thank you very much for coming,
Okay.
by the way. I hope you got a
You're
chance to like
welcome.
and subscribe.
Okay, I
But
definitely will.
thank you. Outside of that, you have the floor. Feel free to answer, but I would like for you to also try to bring it back to the question down at the bottom, just so that YouTube doesn't treat me bad in the long run, right? Why are we
Okay.
divided, and does it play a role in our image of ourselves?
Okay.
But go ahead and make your statement to Third Coast Royalty or Patrice first.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things is for us to understand everything in context. So even though what someone is saying may be true in their context, there's also pretext and there's also reality that's not factored within. Meaning this, when someone speaks about the Congo and the Congo story, they always have to understand where they're getting the information from, number one. And the reason why I know this is because I lived in Zimbabwe. I knew all the stories about Zimbabwe prior to going into Zimbabwe. Even a person who's next door to Zimbabwe, whether they're in Botswana or South Africa, they've heard the same stories that I've heard about Zimbabwe from America. But then I go into Zimbabwe where they say the economy collapsed, they have no currency, and they have 98% unemployment. But then you go to a regular person sitting on the street who sells tomatoes, who looks like they may be poor based on a standard that we've accepted in America. But the general population in Zimbabwe has more money, US dollars, in their pocket, even selling tomatoes, than an average American has in their bank account. You can find a lady who sells tomatoes on the street with three to 5,000 US dollars in her pocket. Not Zimbabwe currency, but US dollars. Just selling tomatoes. Zimbabwe is an economy where there's no how can I put it? You can't get a bond on a house. There's no mortgages. There is
Let me
no
ask you a question real quick.
you
I
can't
ain't
pay
mean to
5
cut
years
you
on
off.
a
Ask you a
vehicle.
question. So she got $3,000 in her pocket. What her house look like?
Oh, she owns a house because they had no shacks in Zimbabwe. Mugabe made sure he got rid of all shacks. As a matter of fact, the
So
average homes in
what kind of
Zimbabwe look
house she
like
got?
mansions with gardens. The average
Okay.
house in Zimbabwe look like mansions with gardens. You have to go there to see it, and it will blow your mind that a place that's under sanctions for over 10 years,
I'm talking about the lady selling tomatoes now. I'm talking about the
purposely.
lady that's selling the tomatoes on the side of
Listen,
the road.
I'm telling you about the lady that sells tomatoes. She has marble floors. This will blow your mind. The average person would stand on a corner and they would sell cell phones to make $5 to $10 a day to pay school fees for the children, and they will actually own their home and their vehicles and have cash. They flip cash like 10, 20, $30,000. An average person, not the rich, not the educated. I'm talking about average people. So context is very important, and whatever you're reading to use as an instrument, as weapon to project a thought is based on wherever you're getting your information from. If you haven't been on the ground to see the reality,
May
Okay,
I
it's a
chime
lot.
in after you say?
hold on.
May I?
I would like to show you. All I did is put in the two things that I was asked to put in. Okay. Really quick, I was asked to put in Zimbabwe and I was asked to put in Skid Row and show those images. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see. I suppose that the point here is there really that much, like we're fighting about the wrong things, but I'll show you. So these are pictures of Skid Row.
Let me go inside.
This is just all I did was just put Skid Row into my Google search, and this is right here in America, right? These are the first images that come up. And then I put Zimbabwe in there. These are the first images that come up. So I just want to just off site. These are the two examples. This is how we would see us as soon as we search us. What are we arguing over again?
I think
Go ahead.
I think the two they're two different things. Skid Row in California is due to homelessness, which is due to mental illness, drug, alcohol abuse, and all of that. That's why majority of those people that are on Skid Row are there for those reasons. There's heavy prostitution, drug use, alcohol abuse, mental illness is the reason why those people are homeless and living on Skid Row. Lost their jobs, down on their luck, and majority of them are there for that purpose.
Okay, pause. Pause. Aziz, do you agree?
As far as the conditions at Skid Row.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, I'm listening. I'm taking that in because that's the information that I'm being presented. So I have to accept the facts as presented until I can find other things otherwise. So I have to agree because I don't know any other competing facts.
Anybody else? Is there anybody on the panel who disagrees that they're different?
I agree with Patrice.
I disagree that they are different.
Why,
They're
Quita?
greatly different.
Quita, yeah. But on the other spectrum of it, you have in Africa and poor third world countries, you have the government to blame for poverty and homelessness and things like that.
Who do we
You
blame
have
for? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
wait, well, hold on. There's a part of government that is to blame for our side too, what goes on in the United States, of course. But I'm talking about on Skid Row in California, that's homelessness due to those things that I listed. A lot of those people on Skid Row are on some type of SSI, SSA, or whatever. And what they take their checks and do is they feed their drugs and alcohol abuse instead of getting a place to stay and feeding themselves. They beg on the street to support their habits for the most part. It's prostitution there. It's all of that. That is a different spectrum from what's going on the continent of Africa. It's a different kind of poverty. It's a different kind of poor.
100%.
It's the reasoning behind the poverty and poorness is different.
Okay,
that's all I'm saying.
All right. I just want to pick up from what the gentleman said earlier at the end of what I said, where he said that I don't care if you're in the Middle East. I don't care if you're in China. All these countries are poor. Did I hear correctly? Please correct me if I'm wrong. That was the statement you said.
To be more specific, the mass majority, not everywhere, because nothing is all. Nothing anywhere is all. So you can't go nowhere and all of something is going to be like that. I'm talking about the majority of the people, like not the ones who got the job, that living in the city. I'm talking about the folks that live outside of the city that can't have but one child in China. I know barbers in Tokyo. That's Japan, but I know barbers that cut hair. They're from America and they got barbershops over there and they doing damn good. But then a lot of people that come in there aren't doing as good as them.
Okay, so you're talking about the majority of people are poor.
In other countries, not America. I'm talking about the majority of other people in other countries.
Okay, all right, got it. So in response to that, I was not speaking about China. I said Japan. So my example was Japan and the yen, and how you cannot compare your currency and the size of the economy as speaking to people's lifestyle in those countries. That said, when it comes to inequality, the globally accepted measure is the Gini coefficient. Am I correct? Gini coefficient measures equality in countries.
I don't know.
I'm sorry.
I don't know what that is, bro.
Okay, fine. It measures equality. So if we're saying that the GDP of a certain country is however many trillions of US dollars, then you say, okay, fine. Based on that, how equal are people? Or is there a big divide between the richest of the rich and the poor of the poor? And according to the Gini coefficient, Japan has far more equality than you've got in the USA. China has more equality than you have in the USA. So the thing about the USA is most of the money in the USA is concentrated in the richest 1%.
Man, these people can't
More
even
so,
have children without getting
more
approved from the
so,
government, bro.
more
So
so,
how is it equal if they can't even give birth without
more
permission?
so than many other countries. So when you say that the majority of people are poor, when you measure it economically, actually, you've got more poor people in the USA than you've got in countries such as Japan
I
as
think
a
that do we
percentage of population.
both so I didn't mean to cut you off.
It's okay.
But I think that we all know the statistic of for poverty in America. Okay, so just in case we
I
don't,
can
as
share
of
with you. I can share with you the Gini coefficient and where America lies in terms of many other countries, where you've got African countries which are far more equal than the USA.
I believe that the overall point is the same one that Bumper has been saying, and I typed there, is that poverty is poverty, poor is poor, disenfranchised is disenfranchised. We are all at the bottom.
Yeah, poverty
No
isn't
matter how
poverty
you
per
look at
se.
it. Not let me, and when I say that, I mean that we are sitting here arguing about the baddest, and when we're all doing bad, when this
True.
discussion should be again about the solution. How do we, seeing that there is poverty everywhere, and by the way, in America, 48% of the population did not have $500 in order to be able to have any type of crisis in 2019. In 2020, everyone had a damn financial crisis unless you were in the top, I don't know, I think it was like what, 10% of this country. So we ain't none of them folks. Let's get back down here where we are. And what can we do? I appreciate all of the information because there are things here that I do not know. I don't know a whole lot about the continent. I'll be honest. I spent most of my time in Europe younger and then married here in the military in the States. But we have got to figure out, yep, it's bad in Africa. It's bad in America. They're trying to pit us against each other. We have got to figure out how we can come together as one community, right? And get us all ahead. That's what I want. That's what I've asked.
I love that. I love the perspective. A matriarch. That's beautiful there. And I have to say this.
Thank
This
you.
is from me living in Africa as an American for 12 years. Africa is not. It's like poverty, according to materialistic. The things that people want materialistically, they may not be readily available just based on how things are shipped. But poverty is a little different there because it's not poverty as we would see poverty because there's a lot of richness. Like if you go to, like for instance, when I was there, I had a gardener. My gardener did not want the house that I lived in and all of that because he's from the rural area. And so in his mind, what I was dealing with was stress. And that created a certain type of lifestyle where he considered where he come from, he was far richer than I was because they had land, they can grow their own food, they had the community, they had everything there. So poverty, it's how you view life. It's not just from our perspective and how Western economics define what poverty is, because most places in Africa is not truly impoverished or in poverty. They're not.
She said they had to get rid of all the huts. If you're living in a hut, that's poverty.
And they're
That's
now
not
gone.
true.
So then
That's not true. The hut
also,
still exists. The hut still exists to this day. I promise you. You can
and
go.
by the
If you're
way,
living
we
in
have
a hut,
people.
that's
Hold on.
poverty.
Really? Because tiny
Yeah.
houses are what compared outside of a hut?
No, because
Because they
huts is
cost
not
more money?
huts is not considered poverty to live in a hut. That is the culture.
Right. That's
Even the hut
housing.
is not poor.
We have people living in tent
Yeah.
cities. Like we
Yeah,
need we
but see,
need to
that's
be
different. Yeah. That's
we need to be
poverty. Tent cities versus huts is two different
If you're
things.
living
Living
in
in
a
a hut is
tent,
not
that's
poor.
poverty.
Living in tent city is poor.
Yes, I agree with you. If you're living in a
huts
hut
are
or if you're living in a tent, that's poverty.
True. Living in a hut is not poverty. As a matter of fact, if you study the history, they had to tax the huts in order to force the people out of their old economic system to bring them into Western economic systems in those nations. They put tax huts, they put hut taxes, then they forced the people to get Christian names, force them to missionary schools so they can rely on jobs based on a hut tax, where in reality, and then they also poison all of their cattle with random pest disease in order to create a circumstance. But the people
Okay,
who love their
okay,
culture,
that's something totally different from what I'm talking about. There's no sinks in a hut. You don't have a sink to go wash your hands and wash your dishes. If you have a
because you don't
tent,
need to have
if
a
you have a
sink
tent,
inside your house.
do
if
you
you have a
have to
tent,
have it?
You don't
if
have
you
to
have a
have a
tent,
sink.
you can't wash any dishes. You can't do nothing in a tent, bro, but sleep in them. There's
True,
no
that's
shower
poverty.
in a
You're right.
tent,
In the
bro.
tent.
You don't got no shower in your tent, brother. You can't do nothing but change your clothes that are just as dirty from being on the ground than it is in a hut.
Yeah,
And
You
but no, but
the point
see,
that I
the
was making to the lady
conveniences are
was
different.
that a lot of people come from poor countries to America for a better life. She said she wanted to take her kids back to her country until they're 15 years old, 16 years old, for a higher education here in America. And I'm telling her this is where they should be if you're going to bring them here anyway.
No, that's
ask
false. That's
you
a false.
But that's my
That's
opinion,
not
though.
true.
That's my opinion. She
Disagree.
can do what she want to do. I was listening to her, and then I came and spoke. So that's my opinion of the situation. If I see somebody saying something like, in other words, saying that I'm gonna take them over here so they can get what I got, which is better than what you have, what I'm assuming, which is better than what you have, I'm gonna take them over there. Then I'm gonna bring them back.
so let me just say this. I think that maybe we need to get some clarification on what a hut is, because in my mind I equate a hut and a tiny house as the same thing, minimal living. Right. I think that, and because we have been sold that huts are somehow this terrible thing as Americans, we got to have the biggest house with the biggest windows and the biggest doors and the whatever it is. Right. That's what we're seeing and calling it some type of an issue or not. But we have plenty of people here in the United States who live in very small homes, hut-sized homes.
I'd like to add
Right.
something
And it's
to.
a home. Go ahead, blind guy, his wife, their life. Was that you, Quita? Yes. Then she muted herself.
Am I muted?
Nope. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So JP, first of all, you doing a lot because I wasn't supposed to be still up here, but I'm sneaking in. I'm staying in here. So I love you for that. But anyway, so yeah, and of course I'm being silly and facetious because I think this is a great. This is Lewis is the exact person I was talking about when I said, y'all, this whole Lizzo thing. It's about the divide from the top down. They got people like Lewis that grew up on the land, believing that the land is not where you should be. They got him believing that if you're in a hut is a dirty spot where you got clothes that's dirty and you're on the ground. A mud house is the original house, which is why they're going back to that. So those of us that are living in fabricated houses where the oh my goodness, PLCs, what is the, it's not PLCs, it's it's the chemicals that come off of any manufactured item. They have
PVCs.
us say that again, please.
In the PVCs. I'll look. Go ahead.
The PVC
Thanks.
pipes.
Mm-hmm.
No, no,
No, the
no.
stuff.
It's a chemical that comes off of anything that's been manufactured. So when you buy a new couch and you put it in your home, that's what the brother is talking about. The man from the village didn't want that house because he saw those problems. This is where you get cancers from, not just from your food, but this is why they say, oh, it's in the air, it's in the products. Because when you make a couch here in the States, the way they do it, the chemicals that they put into the foam and the cushions and all of that, it has to off gas. There's a term called off gassing. So if you check that word, it might come up. The the word I'm thinking of, JP. And so it's got people like Lewis thinking, I got a sink. That sink has off-gassing materials in it. And not realizing that, yeah, fresh water is possible. Um, uh, an outdoor kitchen is best because when you're indoors with that amount of heat and with that amount of off gassing from the stuff that you're cooking and whatnot. All of that should be done outdoors. A lot of places they have a separate kitchen for a reason. They have a separate space for a reason, and it's not for a poor reason. It's not for an indigenous reason. It's for a practical reason. And also, you have that connection with nature that is normal and natural, and it's not looked down upon other than us people here who are believing that what the people on top told us. That ain't for you.
Exactly.
Those folks there are poor. Those folks there don't know what they're talking about. Medications come from plants. So for us to believe that, oh, we got the best medicine, we got over the course of the pandemic, they had some of the major pharmaceutical companies trying to buy farms in Tanzania, herbal farms, not just any farm, because they know that the herbs are the healing forces. And herbs, let's just take mullein, one herb, Mullein. That is in cough syrups. But when you tell people take mullein, they don't believe you. They want to go buy Robitussin. Well, you can just go right to the source. If you Google that word mullein, it'll tell you this is good for bronchitis. This is good for TB, tuberculosis. This is good for pneumonia, mullein all by itself. But you have people that believe, because this is what our media keeps giving us, they believe that unless it's got a package on it coming in a plastic bottle that is sealed with plastic, that's better for me. The industrialized version is better. That's the lie that Lizzo is helping us to believe. I'm big, I'm fat, I'm happy. I'm also crying and I'm sad because they talking bad about me. Yeah. So she's living on both sides and she's living from the top down. The industry has her telling lies that she's big and fat and happy when her truth is that you on camera crying because you're not. So that's the reason why you have people like, I think it's Bumper and people like Sweet Lulu Bean saying, in this particular country or in that particular country, this is the way. This is the good way. It's just fine because there are way too many cultural norms that are still working that our people here are trying to emulate with tiny houses, that they're
I don't
trying to
have
emulate.
nothing in common with Lizzo. I'm not saying I'm agreeing
What?
with Lizzo. I'm not saying that. You're saying that I'm saying, well, we gotta have this and we gotta have that in order to be
No, no,
who
no.
we are.
Not
That's
like
not what I'm
I,
saying.
I feel you. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is the concept of Lizzo being on one side saying because the she's listening to the industry making her say I'm fat and I'm happy, and
But
you're
I was
listening
talking
to the
about
industry.
poverty. I was talking
Right,
about
you're
poverty.
listening to the industry. You're listening to the industry about poverty, and what you're saying can easily be disproven when you do a Google search. If you
Mm.
do a Google search, not just from what your friends telling you,
They
but
See,
just
that's
did
why.
one. They just pulled up the Google. Them people ain't even
Hold
got
on.
shoes on. They ain't
Pause.
even got shoes on.
Which people
There's
where?
people.
The
Wait,
image
wait,
she
wait.
just pulled up of whatever she pulled up was you see Skid Row on one side and she did the other one on the other side, and the folks
Right.
didn't even have on shoes.
So
In
wait,
both.
let me ask you this about the shoes. Why, who didn't have on shoes and why didn't they have on shoes?
They didn't have on shoes because they couldn't afford any shoes.
So wait, now let me tell you this. They don't have on shoes because they choose not to wear shoes because you can get minerals from
Okay.
the
Did you
soil.
walk out
Wait,
your door with
you
no
can
shoes on?
I do
No,
all the
because we've been
time.
trained
So
not
I'm
wait,
not
to.
talking about in your
actually I
yard.
do.
I'm talking about in your everyday life, on your way to work, in your car, going to the mall, going shopping. Are you going to these places without
Okay.
shoes on?
Again,
So let
we
me
keep
answer
coming
that.
back. Hold on, blind guy, his wife, their life. We keep coming back to these peripheral, tangential things. They are not about what our focus is, which is how do we get our children to see themselves in a more positive image and not be out here mimicking Lizzo, who was 1 minute claiming she's a boss bitch and then the next minute whining and crying in her tea on Instagram, because that is not what
I
boss
have
bitches
nothing in
do.
common with Lizzo. I
If
have
you are,
nothing in
I
common with Lizzo.
understand that. I understand that you say that, but you don't know what you got in common, Lizzo. You are a Black
I
American,
have
a
nothing in common
foundational
with no
Black
woman.
American.
And I have nothing
You
in
are a
common with her
foundational
because it's
Black
watching her.
American, according to the term that you lose, Lewis, and you're not going to get to talk over me the same way I would not let Sweet Lulu Bean talk over you. Someone down there is clacking, and so I'm going to put everybody on mute for a second. Just so that I can say this. Listen, I think that we find a way to see ourselves differently from everybody else. We find a way to be the exception to the rule, including myself. I tell you right now, I'm the exception to the rule because I think I'm one of the most compassionate people that I know. But that could not be true. I don't know. Also, I'm also going to be the villain in somebody's story, no matter how compassionate I am. But what we're looking for, and what brings us all to YouTube, to this space, is that we all have some little brown, Black, melanated child somewhere that we want to see have a better culture, society in the future. I would love for them to be able to be in a situation where there's a Sweet Lulu Bean and a Third Coast royalty, and they understand each other rather than meeting with each other with contention at first, right? Because the contention in the beginning, that's the problem. We have been sold that contention for so long. We've used it for so long. We've eaten it and fueled it, and now we're spitting it back out at one another. And that's exactly the thing that I am asking. It's the same thing that Lizzo is doing. She's been consuming the lie so long that it's okay to be a fat Black woman. You can be happy and have it all. And she's coming to find out that that's not true. And she's breaking to pieces in real time because of it. The woman who spoke before, Love Melanin, her name, the channel name is Blind Guy, His Wife, Their Life. I will grab the link and put it down there in just a second. And then I am going to go ahead and I'm going to open up everybody but Joe. And that's only because I'm going to be like everybody else in the Struggle Stream family, Joe. And I'm going to let you have the last word to say. Okay? So you all go ahead and unmute yourselves, and let's start with let's see, who is this? Let's start with Lewis, since you're right next to me, and let's just go clockwise into the center, please.
Okay. To not be divisive, I'm gonna say poorness is a problem. The solution, I think, is, like I said, we have to base our standards on economics. You know, we have to look more into our economics, meaning the jobs that we choose. You know, everybody going to get an industry job. I've never been an industry person. I've never been the type of person who can, you can't control me. You can't lead me. You can't tell me something that I don't want to know and expect me to believe it, you know? So I've always been an individual type person. I've always depended and leaned on myself because that's how I feel like it was instilled in me, to not lean on nothing or nobody else's understanding except my own. So as far as me wanting to help others, I have to first be able to take care of myself, which I try to do very much well. So I think that's one of my personal standards that I have to live by is economics, and that's just one of mine.
Okay. Both of us next, please.
Okay. I think that perspective and the lens that one views things is very important. So what might be perceived as poverty for somebody in the West may not be perceived as such for someone in Africa or for someone in Asia. You know, poverty for one person is you living in a hut, while for the person living in the hut, they might say, well, I've got land, I've got fresh water, you know, I'm free and I'm not a corporate slave. So that's the thing. I think we should just be open that our way is not necessarily the correct way. There's different ways out there, and it's okay. We shouldn't be so caught up that our way is the right way. That's all I have to say.
Okay, can we hold on for just 1 second? Sweet Lulu Bean, I think you might need to refresh your stream a little bit. You're answering statements from, I would say, probably a good 10 minutes ago. I just wanted to clarify that. And Sweet Lulu Bean, I'm gonna bring you back up because you're actually still down here in the back. And I just dropped off. Okay. So thank you for that, Boso. And then Patrice, you're next.
Okay. First of all, JP, thank you so much for allowing me to come on the panel. And I've gained so much more wealth of knowledge just from hearing different views. Speaking from my perspective of someone that grew up in the industry, what I've seen and heard, the spaces I've been in, what I've known to be a huge change and influence in American culture. The Lizzo situation, I would say we have to stop the madness. We have to be real and honest with ourselves and our families. The fact of the matter is, Americans are some of the most obese people in the country, okay, in the United States of America. And we have to be real when we see our children that we're raising that is eating wrong and is fat or getting fat, and we're telling them that's cute and it's okay. And we're not changing diets, we're not changing eating habits, we're not exercising enough, we're not doing these things to instill in them to be healthy. We not telling ourselves and our children that it's important to be healthy. I don't think as rich and as wealthy or as poor or whatever that Lizzo is or may be, or anybody else. The fact of the matter is, being morbidly obese is unhealthy. And anybody that loves her around her should tell her that truth instead of what the industry is telling her, that no, but you're fat and love yourself being that way and it's okay. But I'm pretty sure when she comes off that stage, her back is probably hurting, her knees, her ankles. So the reality is it's just like a lot of the things that we tell our children and raise our children on traditions that are not correct. We're not being realistic with ourselves and our families. The fact of the matter is, somebody needs to tell her that being morbidly obese is not healthy for her. That would be somebody that loves her. Not the fact, embrace your obesity and love your, and then now she's crying on social media because she's being bashed. So we as Americans need to be more realistic about that. As to how we're raising our families and the traditions that may be totally incorrect to what the right thing to do is. And with and over the whole African diaspora situation, I think Lulu Bean has the choice and right to raise her children in both cultures because she is from Africa. And if I'm understanding it right, her spouse is from America. I believe that when it's that case, yes, both cultures should be, they should raise their children with both cultures. I believe that. That's just like if you raising a biracial child, that child should know about their blackness and their whiteness, or their blackness and their Asianness, or their blackness and their Hispanic heritage, or their blackness and Indian, whatever the situation is. But I think the bottom line for us is we need to step back into reality, because what the social media, the music industry, all of this fake, phony awareness and wokeness, that's not doing it for us, because we're dying over here in America with what's out now and the culture that's being portrayed. So Black men that's raising Black daughters need to take that responsibility, and Black women that are raising Black daughters and Black sons need to take that responsibility. Because the fact of the matter is, somebody that's around Lizzo that loves her needs to tell her the truth.
Okay,
and that's all I have to say.
Thank you all very much. Before we finish up, though, everybody, if you would please drop your channel link into the private chat so that I can add it to the main chat, I would greatly appreciate it. I want to make sure that you all get all the shout outs and support. I appreciate y'all coming through today. I had actually my highest stream today with 11 people on there, and I'm fantastically excited about that, and I appreciate you all so much for it. So what we're going to do from here, we're going to go Yazid's Blind Guy, his wife, their life, Sweet Lulu Bean, and then we're again, like I said, we're gonna close out with Joe the Drink King because he's my favorite too.
All righty. So I have to say this in defense of Sweet Lulu Bean, right? I'm Sweet Lulu Bean's husband, and yeah, I'm her husband. And any decision about children and how they're raised is going to come from, a lot of it comes from my perspective, only because of me being an African American. I realized that land, language, and culture was lacking, and we have a deep sense of needing some type of knowledge of identity, to the fact that we claim every single ancient history. We claim to be Egyptian, we claim to be Moors from Mali, we claim to be Zulu Nation, we claim to be Hebrew, we claim to be all of that. But when we go to these places, we don't see us there. We even claim to be Native Americans, and they flip that. So in that essence, we could be from all those places, but we don't have the language, we don't have their culture, and we don't have the land, and we don't live by any of those. So when I met her, she had language, she had land, she had culture, she had chieftains going back generations, right? And all of that existed. So if I make a decision based on my children and say, hey, I want them raised in that land so they can know their culture and everything and the heritage that they link from, then bring them over here after 16 years old to get this education because of the side of the world that I come from, that's trying to create a certain type of balance that I perceive is best for those children. And it has nothing to do with what's poor, what's not poor, what's better, and what's not better. That's
your decision.
That's one thing. Yeah. So secondly, what I have to say is this. What I have to say is this, right? That the world itself, when we see the conditions and global warming and everything else is going on, economics, science, technology, and inventions is actually destroying this planet based on this idea that everything has to be based on economics. And if you actually look at it, it's not poverty that's the issue. It's the idea of what underdeveloped world versus developed world, and what's fast and what's slow, and how we judge those two that most of us see, that creates this illusion of superiority coming from a Western world. You know, and what happens is that this superiority has detached itself from 9/10 of the earth's people, right? And its image is tempting and it's deceptive and it's casting a dark shadow on all nations, and it's leading them away from humanity at a breakneck speed. All of the wars and everything else. So we shouldn't praise just because this is money, this is poverty, because there's richness in what we define as being poverty that's not viewed this way by people who are non-African because of what they've done to this earth, right? So when you look at the Western nations, they're so far out in front until they're becoming extinct, to the point that the Colorado River is at the lowest point it's ever been in history, and they have been droughts in the Midwest, and it's about to turn into the Sahara Desert if you're actually watching it, right? So they think that they become wise.
If I pay my rent,
They enter, but listen,
if I can't pay my rent,
they become so wise that they entered a vacuum. The Western nations with richness and money is now inside of a vacuum. And if you actually pay attention, there's a magnificent miracle that's actually taking place where what we consider undeveloped is going to become first world by circumstances. You know? And so the Africans that are here that come to America are not the Africans that are considered poor. They're actually the ones that are rich in the nations that can afford flights. So it's a whole different type of paradigm and a perspective that we have to change on how we view ourselves versus the same people who have the same hue as us that come from another landmass. Because when you look at the entire world, the people of color, we belong everywhere on the planet. It's not African and American and South American. We're just people of color, and it's the people who are non-color that came in and saw us there and decided to define who we are and define our position of what's poverty, what's not poverty, how we're supposed to live our life, etc. And that's what led us in this quagmire. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Aziz.
If I can't pay my rent, I'll be on the side of the street, brother. That's what I'm telling you. So when I say economics, I mean go get you some money. That's what I mean.
Just leave your emotions out of it.
And wait for somebody
leave
to
your emotions out of it.
Go get you some money.
Leave the emotions out of it.
No, I'm gonna get me some money.
Leave the emotions out of it.
I'm gonna get me some money.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Sweet Lulu Bean, would you like to say anything, or do you think Aziz covered it? I'm going to take that to
Sorry,
mean
I
that
don't
you
know.
feel
Can you
okay.
hear me clearly? That
Yeah, I
my
got
phone
you
gives
now.
me issues. Elder, firstly, I'm sorry if I'm sorry for over speaking previously before. I am going to admit that I was triggered, and I still do believe that the brother is insisting on seeing Africa a specific way. And you've heard an American who's lived in Africa, you've heard another South African who's traveled talking about Africa, and you've also had I forgot the lady who I want the potato salad recipe from, um, speaking about Africa, and it's not what he thinks it is. Um, there was a there's a show called The Lapeef Show, and they brought on this Arab lady from Lebanon, and the question was, what can we take from her culture and apply to our culture? And then one of the ladies on the panel, her name is Courtney, got upset and said, African Americans need to stay on code. We need to stop looking to other people's cultures. And then it became what we have here. It became they're racist, they're this, and it became a focus on everything negative about that person's culture when that wasn't the conversation. So I do think for us as Black people, though, it's important for us to have conversations like this because there are a lot of people that think like, I forgot his name, Crossroads,
Third Coast royalty.
Third Coast royalty, that think like him and have that view. And there is a separation between African Americans, with Black. There are African Americans, which I believe are from Africa, and there are Black Americans, which are from here. So, but there is a split between Africans, African Americans, and Black Americans, and we need a better understanding. So, as contentious and as emotional as these conversations are, I do think, Matriarch, that we still need to have them, regardless of how angry and triggered people get, because at least that the information still comes through. Whether he wants to continue believing in barefoot Africans and huts, that's his business. But at least there's been an opportunity for other people to hear another perspective.
Thank you, sweet Lulu Bean. And that's my goal. If nothing else, I want us to be able to create a space where we can have conversations that might be contentious. We can avoid some of the contention by not pushing each other's buttons. And as family, and especially Black family, we have a good handle on how to push each other's buttons. But I am thankful that you all came up here today and were willing to have a chat with me. Sweet Lulu Bean, you're welcome to come back anytime. Do you have a channel that I can? I know that the lead attorney keeps trying to get you to start a channel.
No.
I think that you should start one, you and Yaziz. I knew he was your husband, but I figured we'll let him say it when he's ready to. But
Like I said, I'm going to leave it to the professionals.
yes, I understand that. Also, the last thing that before we go here, again, it's going to be Blind Guy, his wife, their life, and Drove the Jank Train to get us out of here. But just so you all know, the lead attorney is already live. So once you leave here, I expect to see the Struggle Stream family over there.
All right. Peace, family.
Thank you very much. Also, please feel free to shout out, subscribe, like the channel. I'll never get monetized. I ain't got but like 38 followers. So feel free to hit the Cash App or buy me a Sage bundle over on Buy Me a Coffee. Go ahead, Quita.
Okay, can you guys still hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, I tried to prop the phone up here so I can finish with I was able to come sit down for a minute. But the first thing that I started with is what I'm going to finish with, which is that we really have to close the divide of not knowing ourselves. And then, Lewis came right in and showed that we don't know ourselves, and that the disparity is that we believe one thing about ourselves and we stick with it rather than just learning more. I was that same person, and I had a lot of time during the pandemic, the lockdown, during the whatever, to really listen to a lot of these people that are in the places that are barefoot for by choice, that are not quote unquote poor. That it's all of that is a mindset that's given to us from the top down. And so I definitely say we have to challenge what's given to us from the top down. How important is it? Where we are here in the States, they stress finances and they make it so that you absolutely need finances at the top, at the forefront of your life. But in other places? Is that what they need? And then when you even go to different places in this country, um, look at why things are like that. Patrice said, oh, well, they got mental illnesses on Skid Row. So you mean to tell me the rest of they can't, with the government that we have, since this is the most um, affluent place in the world and all of the opportunities ever, they're just going to leave that one spot looking like that. They can't fix that. They can't do anything about that. There's a reason for everything, and we can all do better. We can all be a part of the solution. Um, and one way to do that is to constantly find out more about ourselves, and whether it's herbs, whether it's whatever you don't know about, find out more about that. Specifically, culture is a great place to start. I recommended Wodamaya's channel only because he goes around the world. I'm sorry, around all the African countries, because no one else is doing that. And he's been able to just show us so much. And he interviews people that have gone from Africa to the States, from Africa to the UK, from Africa to Australia, and people that have gone from the States to different countries in Africa, whether it's Namibia, whether it's Kenya, whether it's Chad, whether it's Nigeria or Togo. So that's where I'm saying, if you're a Black person, definitely learn more about your people on the continent in these different countries, because it'll really open your mind and open your level of respect and make you realize that, oh wait, I have a whole world to be in. Ike Ogiamian, he's a Nigerian that's currently based in California, but Ike is, and he's a big, that they call him Big Ike over there on Kevin Samuel's channel. He's Nigerian, you know what I mean? And so it's just one of those things where I definitely say learn more about ourselves, because then we'll be way more solution oriented. We'll be a lot more open to ourselves wherever we are in the world. We'll understand each other better, so that when we hear someone say something like, I'm taking my kids home until this age, then I'm gonna bring them back, we'll realize why they're saying that. And we can have a different conversation like, oh, what will they focus on there? What other resources will they get? What resources can I get? Do I need to send my kids for a couple of years? It'll keep us thinking, and it'll keep us leveling up, especially with the foundation that all of us have here. Learn more about ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, you guys. I encourage everybody to go and check out Wodamaya's site, and especially Ike. I don't feel intelligent enough to even sit in Ike's stream, honey. I catch it when ain't nobody gonna know that I'm watching it, so I can pull out my thesaurus and dictionary and whatever else I need to get it done. But thank you all again for coming through today. Y'all showed me so much love. I really appreciate it. Again, please check out the channel, Third Coast Royalty, Blind Guy, his wife, their life, Sweet Lulu Bean and Yaziz. Y'all are one of my favorite couples out here. Maybe second to Corey and Quita, and that's only because they let me say dirty things on their stream on Fridays. But thank you guys so much for showing up. Check out the banner down below. Joe, it's just you and me. This is the first time we've never done this. I'm so glad to see you.
Good afternoon. How y'all doing?
Fantastic. How's your spirit, Joe?
I just want to say one thing right quick.
Go ahead, Lewis.
In order to have anything, you're going to have to go get yourself some money. Coming from a person that has been in poor, I don't say poverty, but has been poor and lower class, not having, I'm going to always go get me some money. Always. That's all I just want to iterate that, because everybody kept saying what I said. But just know this, I'm going to go get some money.
Nobody has a problem with you getting money. Nobody has an issue with you.
Okay, we're not going to go back and forth. I appreciate you very much. I understand what you're saying. You just want to make sure that your words are clear, because it sounded like a couple of times you felt that you heard someone else put words into your mouth. I understand that. I appreciate you clearing it up for us.
And we want money too, so we're going to do it too.
Wait a minute. I need all of y'all to give me some money if you're talking about money. Then I told you I'm a tiny little struggle stream channel over here. Great day. Anywho, thank y'all so much. Go ahead, Joe. Tell me about you today.
No, I'm fine. I just want to say thank y'all. Thank you, JP. Thank you, Blind Guy and his wife, Trash Can Waves, Miss Patrice. Thank y'all for coming over to the show yesterday. Appreciate your support. Just want to say shout out to Third Coast. I've seen you a couple times. Just want to say hello. And hope y'all.
Salute, King. Salute to you, King. Salute to you.
Yeah, and for the woman that that has her family or raising her kids in Africa, uh, the only opinion I have about that is just that I don't see no problem with you know the kids being cultured. I mean, why would you want your kids to lose their roots? That's the only thing I gotta say about that. But y'all have a blessed day. I'll see y'all over on the lead attorney.
Yes, you will. Thank you so much, Joe. And in closing, I would say just to answer Joe's question, and Sweet Lulu Bean, you can send me a sidebar if I was wrong. I don't believe that she's actually saying that she's going to take them away from American culture. Aziz, her husband, is an American black man, and what she's saying is she would like for them to have both cultures, to be able to represent themselves, excuse me, in the fullest way possible. And that's mostly what this whole stream was about today: a better representation of our people, so that they can present themselves as in a better light. If we can get folks like Lizzo out here with all the money in the world and all the fame, and she's still talking about how she's mistreated, she's pouring those things into our children. So somewhere the message is going wrong. The role models aren't getting it right. And we, as regular old folks down here at the micro level, have got to step up, start telling our story, and start telling our truths. Again, I appreciate each and every one of you coming out today, unpacking your black with me, and I look forward to seeing y'all again. I promise I'll be here again tomorrow, because this right here, all these beautiful black avatars, if we could get some faces next time, that would be great. I appreciate y'all so much. Without y'all, I wouldn't be able to do what I do. So love and bless. Leave a theme song in the comments, y'all. Okay? And keep your spirit up. Y'all have a good one.
You too, JP. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.